We hold these truths to be self-evident.
It's not a rerun if you do a new intro. This is Wrestling World Domination Remastered.
Hello again, everyone. This is Wrestling World Domination Remastered, and I am Bob Hazelwood. For those who might be new listeners, these are re-releases of the podcast I produced several years back with retired wrestler Terry Sims, also known as Terrence the Beauty Garvin, who worked in the Memphis and Dallas territories in the late 80s and early 90s and appeared on the Global Wrestling Federation. Sadly, Terry passed away in 2018. Episode 7 is another compilation episode, this time with Superstar Bill Dundee. Bill actually trained Terry, and along with Jerry Jarrett, gave him the Garvin name because he bore a passing resemblance to gorgeous Jimmy Garvin. The first part of this show originally aired June 18, 2014, and the second half aired on July 21st, 2015. As so often happens when old friends get together to swap tales, they repeated a couple of stories, so when that happened, I kept the better version. But enough rambling from me. Let's get straight to Terry Garvin with Bill Dundee.
When you think about Memphis wrestling, some great names come to mind, like Sputnik Monroe, Jackie Fargo, Tojo Yamamoto. But when you think of the 70s and forward, there's only two names that come to mind, and that's Jerry Lawler and, of course, the superstar Bill Dundee. Are you on with us, Bill?
Yes, sir. I got you, Mr. Garvin.
How are you, mate?
I'm very well. I mean, you had a couple of things right off the bat was wrong. We stole the pink mat from the real original Terry Garvin, so we never really come up with that deal. You came up with the Beauty and the Beast thing.
Oh, you know I came up with that name now.
Garvin, you were the friggin' hairdresser. You didn't know a darn thing about wrestling until we talked to you about it.
So you're going to tell me that I didn't think of the name Beauty and the Beast?
No, I know Mark Golini was an ugly bastard, but I mean, Beauty and the Beast, I mean, I can't remember who come up with it, to be quite honest with you, but the pink mat, we stole that from the original Garvin, so...
Well, I knew that. I was trying to give props, man.
Oh, I understand all that, but we got enough accolades without stealing them from the... Well, it was actually Jerry Jarrett, I think, it came up with Pink Matt for the Garvin, so we didn't like the name Sims, so we changed you to Terry Garvin.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
We stole the name, because that's what you do in the wrestling business. If you don't like it, you change it.
Well, there's definitely change, and we're going to get into that. When you book, you... kind of remember what happened from the past, and you take it and you put your own spin on it, right?
Yeah, that's really all it was. And what they have done, they're trying to change the past and they're not putting the spin on it. I mean, Vince is away out there in left field without a catcher's mitt. So what he does, the young kids try today, and it don't work nowhere except WWE. And he's all smoke and mirrors. So we go to them little indie shows, and people just don't like it there. They want what we did, blood and guts and wrestling.
And wrestling. Bill, You're still wrestling. How often do you get into the ring, my friend?
Usually 2 times a week, and sometimes 3. Just depends. I don't mind doing it close to home. I just don't really want to get in a car or get on an airplane and travel the distance we used to do. So if it's close, have boots, will travel.
Well, okay. It's a pretty doggone good analogy. Can I ask you one question, pretty straightforward, and I don't think you'll mind telling it. How old are you now, Billy? 26, 28?
28, yeah. I'm 70. I celebrated my 70th birthday on the 24th of October.
Hey, all right. Well, 70 years
you just
young.
Recently won a championship, correct? Won another title belt.
But it's the Boonville, Mississippi. It's not like the good old days. I mean, I hear kids on the internet or see them on Facebook talking about the NWA. They ain't got a friggin' clue what they're talking about. Oh, I'm the NWA. I work for the NWA. I got an NWA belt. No, son. All you got is You said not to cuss, so I won't. But anyway, yeah, and they don't even know what the NWA stands for. They'll say National Wrestling Alliance, but they don't know why it was formed. Ask any of the kids that you meet at an indie show and say to them, if you're NWA, what does it mean? Why was it formed? And they haven't got a clue why it was. Well, Ric Flair was the champion. Well, yeah, so was a lot of other guys. But that...
So was a whole lot of other guys before Ric Flair.
Well, yeah, Harley Race, and you go on back there. I mean, after Ric Flair, or before Ric Flair, I mean, the Jack Briscoes and the Terry Funks and the Dory Funks and that era. The Lou Thez, well, that was a little before me. I met Lou and wrestled him a couple of times on his way out when he was in Memphis, and he was a real good guy to me. Some people said he was a prick to get along with, but he was at the end of his tether, I guess. He could have beat me any time he felt like it, but he was very good to me, so I can't say nothing bad about him. But, you know... Well,
you wrestled a lot of so-called shooters or people that could take care of themselves in the ring, real wrestlers. Some of my favorite matches, in fact, were those where you wrestled Tony Charles in actual wrestling matches. And tell me this, Bill, who was the actual toughest badass that you ever wrestled?
Well, there was a lot. I mean, Lou Thez was bad. Billy Robinson was bad. Charles was bad. Adrian Street could all wrestle. A lot of them guys could wrestle. Now, we're talking about... Danny Hodge, I guess, was the baddest of them all because he was a boxer and a wrestler, and he was doing MMA fighting before there was MMA fighting. He could beat you anyway. He'd knock your ass out, break your arm, pull your eye out, whichever way he wanted to do it. So Hodge was a tough son of a gun. So I guess I would go with him, but if you're going on strictly wrestling, Billy Robinson was bad. Charles, Lou Thez, Carl Gotch. So it depends what you know, but I think to answer the question, how I thought Danny Hodge, because he could do it all.
That's a damn good answer, and plus, if he shook your hand, you could damn near break it, because he had a vice for a grip, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He had double tendons in his hand, he said. He used to go to the hardware store and pick the pliers up and break and just squeeze them, put them back in the box. He just popped, and it would be popped, just like we'd do a peanut. He could do an apple same way. He'd pick the apple up and just squash it into mush in his hand. So, yeah, and he was a bad dude, brother, believe me.
Oh, yeah. When I shook hands with him, he was well into his 60s. And, man, oh, man, I'm in my 20s, my late 20s. He shook my hand, and I damn near wanted to scream.
Yeah, but he would do that just for doing it. You know what I mean? He was a kind of, he thought that was funny.
Well, I thought it was funny, to be honest with you, until I tried to see if my hand was broke.
Yeah. After you realize it ain't. I mean, when the man got all screwed up in the car wreck, he crawled out the window from the ditch and crawled up the bank, and he held his neck together. He broke his neck. He should have been dead, but he held it, called it up the bank, and, somebody found him and called cell phones in them days. You have to get somebody to call them and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was unbelievable that he came through that car wreck.
Well, that's absolutely true. I've heard that story, and, man, I've heard a lot of car wreck stories, plane crash stories, but that one probably would take the cake. I mean, did he really and truly, he broke his neck in that wreck, is that correct?
Yeah, broke his neck, and he kind of held it all straight and crawled up the bank at the same time and laid there till lambs and everything come there. He's a tough dude, man. Should have killed him. It would have killed the normal man, and and he knew what to do, and he got out the damn car, and one-handed he had to hold his neck together and climb up the bank out of the ditch. So that in itself was a damn feat.
Wow, that's unreal. Bill, before we go any further, got a few things I want to tell you. I read your book, and man, it was a good one. It definitely had, I know that you kept meticulous records. I knew that from day one. You had a book you carried around, and you wrote down the houses, you wrote down the attendance, you wrote down the payoffs and everything when you were booking. Is that correct?
Yes, I kept up with everything. But you had your book to start with, so whatever you wrote the town was, you just kind of wrote the whatever it drew that night when you got home or whatever. Yeah, I kept up with everything. That's why if the book says it happened.
And that's what I was just getting ready to say. If it's in the book, it happened. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I love Dutch to death, but you know who Dutch is? He can stretch the damn truth a little bit. So I said, Dutch, there's a couple of them things in your book. He said, what's the name of my book? I said, Wrestling According to Dutch. He said, well, you write yours anyhow you like. That's mine. I said, well, okay, I got it.
Well, Dutch can definitely tell a story. There's no doubt about that. Now, I mean, when I say tell a story, he'll make you want to listen to what he's saying. But he can stretch things from occasion, you know. I guess we all can, being the business that we came from. But I know that from knowing you over the years, what I read, I believe. And I just want to get that out of the way. How can people get a hold of that book, Bill?
Well, there's two ways. My website is on, it's www. Hang on here, we're saying it. Say it into the microphone.
www.BillSuperstarDundeeEnterprises.com.
We'll put
a link for that on our show page.
Yeah, did my voice change there?
I kind of liked it. I've heard you talk like that before, but never quite that sweet.
Well, yeah, I got you.
Okay, let me...
Don't give away none of our secrets, Garvin.
No, kayfabe.
I hear you, kayfabe, yeah.
Well, there was a time when Angelo Poffo was running a territory that was competing against Jarrett's, and a little thing happened outside a workout after you finished working out outside the gym. Can you elaborate? There's been a lot of stories on the internet. There's been a lot of stories on YouTube and everything else of what actually happened between you and Randy Savage. Tell us in your own words what exactly happened.
Well, it starts along. You said that Angelo was coming. We was competing in the. No, he came into Tennessee. We was running Tennessee and Kentucky and Mississippi and all the towns that he came in and opened up his wrestling company with his son Lenny Poffo and Randy Savage and himself and a few other guys. Rip Rogers was one of them, and he had a hell of a crew too. So
Ronnie
Garvin, all good guys. You know, they had to make a living too. Everybody couldn't have worked in Memphis for Jarrett, but anyway. So he was trying to run the same towns. Randy'd run around, go into fights and all kinds of things here. So somebody gave me a pair of tights that had Macho Man on the back of them. So I thought, well, hell, this is nice. So I wore them one Monday night on television somewhere. So anyway, my phone rings. This is the days before cell phones. You had to answer it at home. You know how that goes, right? So anyway, the phone rings. I pick it up. Hey, you. I said, what the hell? She says, Randy Savage here. I said, okay, what can I do for you? He said, Lawler's the king, handsome Jimmy's handsome Jimmy, and you're the superstar, and I'm the Macho Man, and you have a pair of tights that says Macho Man on the back of them. I said, well, Randy, get a pair that says Superstar. I don't give a damn. Somebody gave them to me, and I'm going to wear them. Well, it's not right. So that was the first little instance I had with him. So then we're coming back from Louisville one night, and we stop in Bowling Green to get gas, and I'll be damned if Randy Savage ain't walking over the parking lot. So he's walking back, and I'm pumping gas. So as he's walking past my car, he never really saw me. So I said, hey, Randy, how you doing? So he turned around, he said, I have to use this word because this is what he said. He said, you really don't give a fuck. I said, you're right. I really don't. If you dropped dead right in the spot right now, I wouldn't care. Wouldn't even call the ambulance. So he just mumbled something else and walked and got in his car and drove off. So that was that little segment. So the next time I saw him, I came out of the gym working out in Goodlettsville. Thunderbolt Patterson came walking towards me. And I'd known Thunderbolt in Australia. So he just walked up and he said, hey, Bill, how you doing? So we were standing talking. I was leaning against my car. So 5 minutes into the conversation, something hits me in the side of the head. Bam! I said, wow, what the hell? So anyway, Randy just kept running past, I guess, and he just sucker punched me on the way by. So I thought, you son of a bitch, Randy Savage. So me and him would kind of tie up with one another and threw a couple of silly punches at one another, and that stops it. So by the time we get, Angelo shows up, Pez Watley shows up, Thunderbolt's already there, and they're telling us, come on, boys, don't fight. But they ain't stopping both of us. They're only hanging on to me. So Randy's half-ass throwing punches and doing whatever. So anyway, then they let go and stop us, quit fighting. So we stopped fighting. So I thought to myself, if I get to the back of this car, I will restore order. So the old Cadillac didn't have the buttons in them days. You had to put the key in the lock and turn the lock to open it. So I thought, oh God. So anyway, I walked back to the back of the car and I get the key in and I turn the thing and the hood jumps up and I said, oh, I hope this briefcase ain't locked. But it wasn't. So anyway, I flicked the buttons and opened up the briefcase, and lo and behold, there is a silver Smith & Wesson sitting inside that briefcase. I wonder how it got there. But anyway.
I wonder.
I wonder. So Angela's standing to the right of me, and Angela Savage has walked all the way around the car, and he said, you have a gun in this car. I said, you're damn right I do. So by the time I get to the back of the car, he's went to the front and looks up on the dashboard. So I don't know if he figured I had it laying on the dashboard, but whatever. That was the best thing that happened for me, because he went to the front, I went to the back, got the pistol out. Randy jumps on my back, and Angelo grabs my right hand, and the pistol was in my right hand. So when the pistol come up out of the briefcase in the trunk, it was pointing right at Angelo's head. I said, Angelo, get your silly son off my back, or I will kill you right here. And Randy went, Fight's over. Son of a bitch, run off up to the hill, his van, and I didn't know the van was parked up there with the rest of his crew in it. It was sitting up on the hill, up from the gym, and the rest of the boys were in it. So anyway, Papo, Pez was real nice. He said, Bill, I'll see you. I have nothing to do with this. I just work for him. I said, I know. So Pez left, Thunderbolt left, and Papo and them got in the van, drove off. So I said, well, okay, that was this. So I drive home. Time I get home, he has the sheriff come up with a warrant for my arrest with a deadly weapon. I thought, well, this is a bitch. So I thought, I wasn't going to do nothing. I mean, they I guess, Randy had a lot of fights. He got in a fight in the Waffle House. The cops came and they turned the dog loose on him. The dog bit him, all kinds of shit. I mean, Randy's a goof. So anyway, he'd had 3 or 4 fights that had made the paper. So I called Jarrett, and I said, hey, man, the Buffaloes have me a warrant for my arrest over this fight. He said, well, you better get one for Randy. So we go get one. Then we go to court. Me and the lawyer show up in court for Jarrett's lawyer and me, and Randy and his whole crew's there. So Angelo comes up to me and he says, hey, we need to go Broadway with this. I said, I ain't going Broadway with nothing. He's losing. He's going to lose it here because this is my town, not his. So he says, no, we got to go Broadway. So lawyer says to me, call Jerry Jarrett. They want so we don't have to really go in front of the judge or have the trial. So I said, oh. Anyway, I called Jarrett. I said, hey, man, they want to go Broadway with this. They want me to drop the charges. They drop the charges, do whatever. So he said, well, that would probably be the best because he's had a lot of bad publicity for wrestling and we don't need to be tied up with their bullshit. I said, well, you're right about that part, I guess. So the lawyers approached the bench, I guess, and both threw it out, and that was the end of that. The believers of Randy Savage are the ones that want to believe Randy took the pistol from me and pistol whipped me with it and did all that bullshit. That never happened, folks. He ran away. He was the most paranoid man I'd ever been around in my life. So anyway, after we're walking out of court, he's outside of the court. So I walk up to Randy and I said, I've had your best shot, Pally, but you've never had mine. So just think about that. So off we go. I'll be a son of a gun. Lawler books him to come work in Memphis. Because after all the bullshit, Lawler books him to come work in Memphis. So he's walking down. You know, you've been in Memphis, you know, when you walk up that hallway from the big babyface room up to where Lawler used to change in that hallway there.
Sure.
His room his room was off to the right. We're just halfway down that hallway. And I'll be damned, Randy's walking up the other, and I have Jamie with me. And Jamie just a little bitty fella. So he says, "That's Randy Savage." I said, "Yeah, it is." He said, "Didn't you ever fight with him?" I said, "Well, yeah, you could call it that." So he goes up to Savage and says, "You're the guy that sucker punched my dad." And Randy goes, "Hey."
Sounds just like Jamie, don't it?
Yeah, that's a true story. I'm telling you how it happened. So Randy says, "Hey, be quiet, kid, be quiet. Heavy drugs. That was back then. This is now, blah, blah, blah." So we kind of, I guess you would say, shook hands standing in the middle of the hallway there, and that was about it. I left and went somewhere. I never stayed around when he was there. I was going anyway. I guess that's why they brought him in, because I was leaving. So he came in and worked with Lawler and did whatever. So that was about the last time I saw him. Because,
I'll be darned. That's a great story, Bill.
Oh, well, it gets better. Listen to the end of this fucking story now. This is the way how it goes now. So we all end up in WCW making pretty good money. Greg Gagne and Michael Graham working in an office. Hulk Hogan comes in. Eric Bischoff hires him. So he wants Savage. So they don't have enough money in the budget to pay Savage $500,000 or $450,000 a year. So they fire me, Mike Graham, and Greg Gagne. So they can hire Randy. So I thought, well, ain't this a bitch? This is the goofiest guy in the wrestling business. He's completely nuts. And they're firing 3 guys that works in the office to hire him. So he got over me on that thing. So I guess at the end of it, you could say, oh, Randy won the fight. So that was about the last time I saw him. But I will tell you this, and I really believe this. I hope when he was driving that van and he figured he was having a heart attack, that he looked up from that steering wheel and he looked over at his wife and said, "I'm having a heart attack, and that little son of a bitch is still living." Bang, and hit the tree, and that was the end of the son of a bitch. End of story.
Damn. Well, that's about as hard-hitting as you can get.
Well, that's it. I never got to whack him with my best shot, so the tree did it. Now, anybody that likes Randy Savage can make whatever they want of that, but that is everything I have told you is the gospel truth, nothing but the truth. He never took that gun from me and pistol whipped nothing. He saw the gun and run away.
When the gun came out, it was like he bloodied his belly, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it. But anyway, so that's the Savage story. So the ones that believe Randy and want to believe the beat down, they will believe that story.
You were leaving to go book for Bill Watts. And what was it, 1983?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Something like that, yeah.
You had a match with Jerry Lawler. First time that you all wrestled in a loser leave town match. Hell, yeah. I remember it. They had the wrestlers come out and sit by the ring to watch it, didn't they?
Yeah, the first time that had ever been done to my knowledge.
Yep. And what a match it was. You know, you two are about a night and day's difference. There's no doubt about that. You know, you like to go one way and he goes another, but when you got in the ring, it was magic. Can you tell us just a little bit about that match, and then we're going to cover Bill Watts' territory?
All right, well, I mean, we had a whole bunch of them before that. I mean, since 75 or the middle of it, and they brought him back. See, Lawler wasn't here when me and George Barnes came here in 75. They'd fired him. I don't know, Jarrett got mad at him for something. Apparently he said he was the champion and he shouldn't have to go to the little town. So Jerry Jarrett said, well, don't go to the big ones, give me my belt back. So they took the belt off him and he went off to Florida, and I think him and Don Green became the Heavenly Bodies or something. So they worked there. So me and George, and I'm kind of glad that happened, because maybe me and Barnes wouldn't have got over the way we did if Lawler was still in the backyard. You know what I mean? When the big dog's away, they're looking for another one. So he was gone for 3 months. Yeah. So that was then. So then when he came back, George had got homesick and he went back to Australia. He didn't like you Yanks anyway, so he went back to Australia, and I was little old heel by myself, and it teamed me up with Crazy Luke Graham, with Bill Colt, with who else did they do? There was a few heels I did, and then they switched me babyface with the interns. Scan Ramian interns was in here, and they were the heel team, and I was a heel, and went to the ring and told Ken not to beat up on Eddie Marlin no more. So he had his big interns jump on me, and Eddie now Tojo made the save, and the rest is history, as to say. So then, after that happened, Lawler came back. And it was just like would be real, the way of thinking. Lawler came back and said, this little sucker's getting over, so I have to do something not to get him over. So we had a match, and when he discovered that we was, and the chemistry was there, and the money was there, I mean, we became best friends at wrestling one another, as you would say. We never drove up and down the road together, or, did a lot of things. We'd been out a few times, but, his way of living was different from mine. So, but in the ring, you're right, it was magic. And everything we did clicked, and we drew money together, and, he had respect for me, and I had respect for him. So the match that we did with the Loser Leaves Town, it was just the two biggest stars, technically, of that era, fighting at the same time, and one of them wasn't going to be there the next day. And it was me. So, but you'd still have to go in there and just give it all you got. I mean, I thought, well, I'll convince the people I can whoop this boy, and he's leaving. So then he pulls it out at the end, and the place goes nuts.
That match went about 30 minutes, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they all went 30 minutes or so. I mean, they got the money's worth out of Lawler and Dundee.
I will say that's true. Okay, well, now, the big cowboy came calling, right? Wanted to switch things around, and he went to Jerry Jarrett. Jerry Jarrett said, well, I got just the man for you, and the Superstar was sent to Oklahoma to book.
Yeah, they called it Oklahoma, but it was really Louisiana. That's where you actually live. We all moved to Alexandria. So Watts came up and talked to me about going down there, and he'd come to Jarrett. Apparently they'd went down and saw the talent, and they were going to switch talent, but there was really nobody down there that would fit. He had all monsters. So, Hacksaw Duggan and Butch Reed, the JYD, the Russians, Barry Darso was working as a Russian, Volkov was there. So they were all big guys. I mean, 6 foot was small. So anyway, he come and talked to me. Jarrett told him, go talk to Dundee and see if he wants to book it for you. Then we'll get you a crew. So he comes and talks to me. We make a little deal. So I get the job. So now he says, you need a crew. So now we go talk to who we need. Rock and roll was on the list. Jimmy Cornette was second fiddle to Jimmy Hart here. So we took Cornette and, honed his skills, give him the tennis racket and all the other things. Then the heel team we took down there was Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey, and put James E. Cornette with him. Then we brought Buddy in as a single and Dutch Mantell. And I only booked it the first year. I never wrestled. So anyway, that was the crew that we started off with. New Year's Day on 83, I think it was, we went to the Barton Coliseum in Little Rock. It was $8,900 was the house. And sitting in the Barton Coliseum in Little Rock with an $8,900 house, there's nobody in the building.
Right.
So we did the next TV we did, and we showed 3 weeks of them TV things that we did on the rock and roll, the specials that we made, the vignette things. And we had them jumping all over the place and all the things. The next house in Little Rock was $51,000, and it stayed like that for the next 2 years, basically. It was up and down, but that was went from $9,000 to selling out and stayed that way. So Bill says to me, 2 weeks, maybe a month into the thing, maybe a little more, he says, you ain't going to fill this place up with midgets, are you? I said, what? I said, well, when you go to the bank the next month or so, just count it and then let me know if the big guys were outdrawing the little guys. So that was the last time he said that. So I guess he was counting $100 bill.
Now, the rock and roll weren't actually the rock and roll before you took them, were they? Yeah, they started off here. That was Lawler's idea. Remember when all them girl guys looked like girls? They were skinny rock and roll singers, and they all had long blonde hair, and they had bandanas tied around their legs with silk pants. Well, that was Lawler's idea. It came up with that deal. So he says to Jerry Jarrett, we got the Fabs, and we got Dundee, and we got me, and we're all, he said, we have nothing for the young girls. We need to put a team together for the young girls. So Ricky and Robert wasn't even tag team together that time. So we went and talked to Ricky and Robert and told them what they were going to do. And then Robert Gibson, the first night, said, I am not
tying them bandanas around my legs, people will laugh at me. Well, little did he know how they were going to laugh all the way to the bank, right?
They're still wearing them.
Yeah, they're still wearing them. He's friggin' 50 years old and bald, and he's got bandanas tied around him. So, you know, and it was just funny. So I'm not doing it. I said, Robert, please, come on. And Ricky, you know, come on, just do it. And they promised they won't laugh anyway. They tied them up, and off they went, and the rest is history.
Well, the reason you were able to take the rock and rolls because they had the fabulous ones, right? He told you could take anybody but Lawler and the Fabs, and Jimmy Hart. They were about the only ones that were off.
That really wasn't in the deal either. But this was my way of thinking. Ricky and Robert looked like school kids, and they were young boys compared to the Fabs because they'd grown them beards and they had the gold coats and all, and Steve Curran talked like that, you know, how Curran's voice was. So I thought if we take the young guys in, get them over, and do what we do, and if anything goes wrong, we can do a big angle and bring the Fabs in and save them and send the kids back to Memphis and have the Fabs take their place and go on.
And the 2 years that you were booking at Mid-South was, I believe, Bill Watts' biggest 2 years to date. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
Drawing money?
More money with me as the booker than he did anybody. And he told me that when we was down there 2 months ago at that thing that Matt Riviera did in Louisiana.
Right, yeah.
He was there. He was there. The son of a bitch is 73, and he looked pretty good. He'd slimmed down a little bit from the last time I'd seen him, and he looked like he'd lost weight. And he told everybody, he said, I made more money with Bill Dundee as the booker than I did with anybody. I said, well, you've got any laugh? Give me some, but he just laughed. Stud, he says, yeah, right. He still got it.
A la Jerry Jarrett and all the rest of the promoters, right?
Yeah, but... The therapy.
Okay, well, when, as a matter of fact, we're going to get a little bit more in depth here with Bill Watts, because in the early 90s, you mentioned it briefly. There for a while, Bill Watts took over WCW, correct?
Well, I really don't know. He never took it over as per se. I think they hired him to be the booker. And that's how I got there. He hired me to come there. But Bill Shaw was running it, and Ted Turner and Turner Broadcasting still owned it, and they just hired him, so he was actually working for WCW. So he
but the first thing he did was he brought in the Superstar to be on the booking committee. Is that correct?
Yes, he hired me. I'm the reason. I was his fault that I got there. Yeah, he brought me in. Yeah.
And how long were you there, Bill?
I was there 2 years. He left in the next 2 months, 3 months. He got himself fired, but he wrote the contract, and they had to pay the sucker to go home.
Well, that sounds like he's pretty smart to me.
Oh, he is smart.
It pays to have good lawyers.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just, he wrote it, and then I guess they thought, well, this is not bad. He's coming here anyway, and he wrote the thing, and little did they know that he wasn't going to like it, and he wanted to get his paycheck for the next 18 months or whatever it was, and they paid him.
What exactly did he do for them to send him home?
He called up to the front desk, or he called to his secretary, and she wasn't there, so he left a voicemail on her voicemail. It said something like this: lady, if you're off getting another Twinkie or something to eat, you keep your big fat ass at the desk. When I'm looking for you, I need to find you. Words to that effect. Well, you can't do that with Hammer and Hank Aaron being the guy in charge. You can't say nothing about anybody. I mean, you know, he just, Hank was, you know what Hank is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and he didn't let you say nothing about women, and he didn't let you be racist, and he didn't let you, and that was all very well, but, you know, Bill knew just saying that, telling the lady to keep her fat ass at the desk, Hammond and Hank would hear about it, and that would be kind of the end of that. And it was.
I want you to talk about your time with William Regal in the WCW, and your spot is Sir William, his manservant, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, butler. I was manservant. That doesn't sound right, manservant. Okay. Bill Watts hired him. They went on tour. This was another thing that Watts did. They went over to England on a tour, and Watts saw him. And Regal was a shooter, and you know how Watts was with them. He liked guys that could wrestle and could shoot and do all that kind of stuff. So he brought him over here. and didn't know what to do with him once he got him here. So by the time that he had got himself fired or left or whatever you want to call it, we had Regal on the books. So there, Dusty was the head booker. It was Dusty, Greg Gagne, Mike Graham, and me was supposed to be the office. So I says to Dusty, most Englishmen that has come here and have got over have all been lords. He needs to be lord something. So he said, okay. He said, we'll make Larry Sabisco the butler. I said, Dusty, what the hell does Larry Sabisco know about England or talking British or have an accent? He's from New York, for Christ's sake. He says, well, you do it. I said, well, okay, I'll do it. So I said, so I went and got the little bowler hat and them glasses you put on your nose and on the pinstripe damn pants and the jacket and the monkey suit that we wore. I said, so I showed it to Dusty. I said, this look what you're looking for? He said, yeah, that's great. But he didn't really give a damn. That wasn't his idea, so he just said, yeah, that's great. Yeah, do the thing. So I said, well, okay. So I got a pay raise for being Sir William. So I was getting paid to work Bill Dundee as the office. And then when I went to the ring as Sir William, they gave me another $150 a show, which I thought was quite nice of him.
Yeah, you're double dipping then, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, so I would do a little thing, and then I would get paid to be Sir William, walk to the ring, and wave the Union Jack and do the thing. No, I liked Regal. He was back then. He was drinking maybe a little more than he should have sometimes, but didn't we all? Or he would sometimes take too many pills, but I think he got all straight with that, and I liked him. I mean, I go along good with him.
Well, I know about taking a few pills, but I wasn't much of a drinker. Thing I remember about you is you might drink a little bit, but by God, you always drank the cheapest damn beer you could buy. God, you drink.
Yeah. I still drink it. Natural Light.
Well, it wasn't Natural Light back then, man. It was some Shaper's Light or some crap like that.
But it was Natural Light now, so yeah.
And you still drink it, I'll be darned. Maybe a little wine now and again?
Yeah, drink a little wine now and again. Don't drink like you used to. Too stupid one to drink now. It's too old to be stupid, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. You've had a knee replacement, right, Bill? Other than that, your health ends 100%, right?
Yes, so far, touch wood. Yeah, I had a colonoscopy there about 3 months ago. That turned out good, so I mean, you know how they tell you got to have them colonoscopies.
Oh yeah. I had the pleasure of that not long ago. You know, after that scare that I had, of course they checked me inside and out, and boy, that was just tons of fun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They give you that white stuff to knock you out that they gave Michael Jackson. I mean, he took by himself. It killed him. I told that lady, give it to me. I said, no, you have it measured right in there. I don't want to be like old Michael Jackson. She said, oh, no. She said, I got you. So, anyway, next thing I know, I was waking up and it was all over. So, they said it was good, so here we are.
I said the same thing. I said the exact same thing. I was having a procedure on my back, and they knocked me out with that very same stuff right after he died, as a matter of fact. And when they told me what they were giving me, I was like, are you kidding? My God, that King of Pop or whatever it was just died from that crap. I didn't want no part of that, but I came through it. I woke up to a lot of people's dismay. But we got a couple of callers that want to say hi to Bill and ask you a question or two. Is that okay with you, Billy?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's bring on Ryan first.
My question is about downtown Bruno. I recently read his book, and he said that none of the wrestlers were supposed to punch him until Jerry Lawler said it was okay. Why did you punch downtown Bruno before that time?
Back then, he was a dirty, smelly little drunk, and I didn't like him.
That's about as honest as you can get.
That's right. I did an angle with him just so I could do this. I took him to my house and turned my pit bulldog loose and attacked him and damn near bit him and drug him around the yard. Oh, I've done some terrible things to downtown Bruno, but I love him now. We get along great. But that punch wasn't the worst thing I ever done to him.
Do you have another question for Bill, Ryan?
Yeah, my final question is, the WCW Were there any plans for you to wrestle instead of just manage?
No, there wasn't even plans for me to manage, except I invented the little Sir William character to walk to the ring with Lord Steven Regal, because I didn't think Larry Sabisco, that were wanting him to do it, would fit the thing. Hell, he was as big as Regal, and he could wrestle, as good as Regal, and I just didn't think that he should, the people never really looked at me like being a giant unless it was in Memphis, but so, no. There was no plans for me to wrestle and no real plans for me to be the manager. That just happened because we needed somebody to go to the ring with Lord Steven Regal. All lords have butlers.
Okay, Ryan, thanks a lot, my friend.
Thank you, Ryan.
Time's flown by like it always does, but I must say that I've really enjoyed your stories all to hell tonight. We got another caller?
Yes, we do. I'll bring her on right now. We have Joyce from Georgia.
Hi. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Joyce. How are you this evening?
I'm your Georgia Peach now. I've got a question for Bill and you also, Terry. I was just wondering, do y'all remember a wrestler called Argentino Apollo?
Yeah, I do.
Whatever happened to him?
I really don't know. I met him in Australia a long time ago, so I haven't seen him since I've been in the States, and I've been in the States since 1975. I knew him in our middle 60s in Australia. They brought him over there.
Yeah, because I remember watching him years and years ago, and when he was wrestling, and I think that was back in the wrestling number 1 and number 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been many years ago.
Okay, hon. Well, listen, we're going to try and get one more caller in here. The thing goes off live, okay?
Okay, Terry, you have a good one, buddy.
You too, babe.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we got one more caller.
Yep, and we got Dennis on right now.
Hey, Dennis, how you doing?
Guys, how y'all doing? I'm an equal opportunity caller. How you doing tonight, Bill?
I'm doing good. You're from Alabama, right?
Yes, sir. I'm from Alabama, Montgomery. Yeah. I have one question to ask both of y'all. I'll hang up. Did either one of y'all wrestle Mr. Wrestling 2?
Mr. Wrestling number 2?
Yes, sir.
No, I didn't. Bill, did you wrestle him?
Johnny Walker?
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Walker, Mr. Wrestling 2.
Yeah. Then when we booked him in Louisiana, I never wrestled him in Atlanta, but when he came over for me for Bill Watts.
Okay. All right, guys. Y'all have a good night. Keep up the good work. I enjoyed both of y'all's shows, and have a good week. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Love Alabama callers, don't we, Bill?
Yes, sir. Bobby Eaton, Huntsville, Alabama. Bobby Eaton.
Yeah. Hey, let's throw a shout-out to Bobby Eaton. Today's Jamie's birthday. Your son, Jamie Dundee. Isn't that correct?
Yes, it is. We'll sing happy birthday to him. He's 43 years old today, for God's sakes.
I've seen Jamie a couple of times here lately, and my God, he hasn't changed a bit.
Well, he's got a few more tattoos and put a couple of pounds on, but apart from that, I don't know.
He's a little redneck hillbilly. He's still a small little guy, but boy, oh man, can he sure talk.
He ain't small no more, brother. I don't think you've seen him in a little bit. He's got away 230.
I still think of him as a kid, man.
Yeah, me too. But he ain't. Believe me, big old boy now, big old redneck, tattoos all over him.
The guy can talk, I'll tell you that, like his daddy.
Well, he'll keep you laughing, yes. Can I plug my book one more time?
Sure, absolutely. We're going to put it up on our wall too, on our webpage.
Okay, it's Bill Superstar Dundee Enterprises.com. And you will, if you want the thing, just get in touch with me, and the book will be signed by me, and I'll send it to your address. They all know what to do. All right. Thank you, Mr. Terry Sims. Garvin.
That's the first time you've ever called me by that name.
That's right. I just thought I would give you the accolades that you deserve, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. Usually when we talk on the phone, if I'm calling you, you pick up the phone, answer it. Damn it, Garvin, how are you, boy?
Yeah.
That's Billy Dundee. That's how I know him. Bob, you want to ask Bill something?
One question for you. Of all the names, I mean, I'm just listening to the names that you've been throwing out of guys that you've worked with and folks that you've run across in your career. Is there anybody that you wish you had a chance to work with that you never did?
No, not really. I mean, I think I worked with all the people that was anybody back in the days. I mean, they came through Memphis, or if I went somewhere else. I mean, I was always fortunate enough to be either the semi-final or the main event, and that's when you got to work with the stars of the territory. So, no.
Billy, we're going to let you go, man. We're going to get out of here. It's been great talking to you. I'm sure that this is probably going to be a talked about show with the things that we've covered, and we'd like to bring you back on in the future.
Anytime. You got my number, my friend. Just give me a buzz, and we'll do it to it like Sonny Pruitt. Take a pill, and woo, off we go.
That wraps up the first half of the show. The second half, as I mentioned earlier, aired on July 21st, 2015. Bill was visiting Terry's home, and they sat down together with me on a Skype session, and we recorded what was basically two old friends just shooting the bull. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Well, we're very happy to have as a return guest the one and only Superstar Bill Dundee. How are you, my brother?
I'm very well, Mr. Terry Sims or Terry Garvin or whatever the hell you are today. Bob, how are you?
I am super, Mr. Superstar. Not as super as you are.
Oh.
Not many are.
What can I say? I mean, I've been all afternoon with Garvin and I'm exhausted.
We're here at the Sims compound. We've told a few lies. We've laughed together. We've even watched some classic wrestling shows on ESPN. And I do want to mention that we saw Terry Sims or Terry Garvin. I don't know which it was, but we didn't see Superstar on that one.
I don't know why. I had left by then.
Yeah, you'd already left by then.
I was never there when Gary Hart was there.
No. Did you ever work with Gary Hart, by the way?
Yeah, in Australia. I did jobs for him.
When he was actually wrestling.
Yeah, he wrestled in Australia. Barnett used to like him. He'd bring him over.
Huh. Okay. Now, when you started wrestling in Australia, that was for Jim Barnett.
It was real, yes.
It was real. Yeah. Big difference in what we were even watching tonight. Yeah.
No, we worked for Barnett. Jim Barnett liked Gary Hart.
Well, that's kind of fits.
That's all I'm saying.
That kind of fits.
No.
Jimsy liked you. You're going to go far.
Well, he liked me too. I'm going to tell you a true story. No, I'm not going to tell you a true story because it's not nice. Jimmy
Go ahead.
No, he
go
ain't
right
here.
ahead, man.
I don't talk about dead people if they're not here to back up the story. Because
I got
anybody can say anything they want if somebody's dead.
I got you.
So
I understand that.
Say things, and Hart's dead too, ain't he?
Hart's dead too.
Yeah, Jim is too, so.
Yeah, I guess.
But it wasn't about them. It was really me and Barnett. But that doesn't sound right either. But anyway, no. Barnett liked me because I thought I was. That's another.
You're gonna have to elaborate on that, man. Barnett liked you, or you liked.
Well, everybody knows who Jim was, and I was very cute. Well, I was. But anyway, that's another story.
Cute as a bug.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah. Well,
June bug.
I understand that. Jim Barnett was kind of the driving force behind Tom the Rich actually getting the NWA title, wasn't he?
I thought that was Ole Anderson.
Really?
Ole was the booker, wasn't he?
No.
I'm sure Barnett said Ole put the belt on Tommy for a week, but that didn't do Tommy no good.
No.
7 days? I'd rather not had it.
Is that really true?
Yeah.
You'd rather not had the NWA
for a week.
title.
If they told me you take this, you can have it for a week. No, thank you. You keep it.
Somehow, I just don't know if that's a shoot or not, because
it was a week.
I know, but you're telling me if they told you we're going to put the NWA World's Heavyweight title.
Yeah, even back then.
Which back then, that meant a lot.
Yeah, for a week, no.
For a week, you told them, no, can't do it.
Can't do it.
Well, that's the difference between you and I, because I believe I'd have done that week.
Garvin, I'm not getting into what you've done for this business, but that's another story.
I think Terry would have held it for an hour. They'd have let him, and he'd have been happy with it.
He'd have just get it to the ring for Flair. I mean, you know how he is.
Holy
Just
hell.
to hold on to the belt. Here you are, Mr. Flair. Here's the belt.
Rough.
Well, think about it. I mean, 7 days. That's just
Kerry held it for almost a month.
Who?
Kerry Von Erich.
Oh, I didn't know he had it.
Yeah, beat Flair in the middle of the ring in front of 45,000 people.
Well, for the payoff Flair was getting on the shoot, he did.
Yeah. Man, you know, the funny thing is when he did the return favor to Flair, they were in Japan, so nobody actually saw it here in the States. You know, that's how much stroke the Von Erichs had back then.
I didn't know they had stroke with the NWO. I thought Fritz and them had fell out.
No, not by that time. They fell out after that. I think that Fritz probably wanted to put the belt on Kevin or something. What do you think on that, Bob?
I can't see Kevin as the world champion. I could barely see Kerry doing it. Now, David was another story. David would have made a great champion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, he was the best of all of them.
I agree with you.
By far. But let's get back to...
What about the little brother?
Chris? Now you talk about carrying the belt to the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
If you're all out and he says, I'm a Von Erich too, nobody would believe him. He was shorter than me and not short.
That's tiny.
Yeah, tiny.
Yeah, I agree.
You say the word midget, but you're not allowed to say midget no more.
No, we were talking about that earlier. You know, you had midget wrestlers. Now you couldn't say midget wrestlers. You'd have to say little people.
The world's
Is that what they call it? It's all fucked up.
Yeah.
It'd be vertically challenged people.
Right. So, I mean, but the world's screwed up the way they go on with all the politically correct bullshit.
Yeah, I agree totally on that. I mean, that's one thing we do see eye to eye on. And folks, I'm going to tell you something sitting right here. You all that listen to this show regularly, we've had quite a few guests come on here and talk about how stiff my working punches were in the ring. Well, we're on Skype right now, and Bob can see both Billy and I. And I'm going to tell you right now, Billy Dundee had the stiffing work. Hey, you get in a match with Billy.
No.
And he throws 10 punches. One of those 10 is going to knock your fucking head off. And you know it.
That was meant to do that. It wasn't stiffish when they hit you every time, stiff like that. If you got one from me, it was meant to be.
Well, I know, but that's my point.
So stiff is like, who's stiff?
The Road Warriors.
Yeah.
Road Warriors. That's good. That's stiff.
Everything they did was stiff. But me, I could work.
Oh, yeah, you could work. I'm not saying that. You were a great worker.
I got pissed off at you.
No, it wasn't necessarily even pissed off, man.
Just being a prick.
Just being a prick.
Yeah.
You know, he'd hit me. If you remember those Rock'em Sock'em robots when you were a little kid, you had a red one, you had a blue one. One of the best toys ever, because if you got the right punch in, his head bounced up on like a spring. Yeah. And that's what it would be like when Billy hit you with that punch. And I'd be like, damn, Bill. He'd say, God damn it, Garvin, you moved. It was never his fault.
I stomped on the Ricky Morton one time. I slammed him and stomped on his face, right on his nose. And he jumped up and balled his fist. I said, are you hot? He said, hot, you son of a... Anyway,
he was. Say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Ricky Morton one time said about Billy. I remember he was up and doing the loops with us, and Bill had wrestled him for a whole week, and Ricky comes back in the dressing room and he said, Bill, I want you to go out there tonight. I want you to ball that fist up and give me the stiffest punch to the face you could possibly give it to me. And Bill said, what the hell? What are you talking about, Ricky? He said, well, it couldn't be any stiffer than your working punches are.
But that's not so. People said that about me, but it wasn't really true. Now, if I had nailed you, there was a reason. I was either hot at you or just being a prick.
Just being a prick. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, you know, it was just being a prick. And when I'd nail you back, then you'd be hot.
Oh, yeah, I'd be hot there.
Yeah. And then we...
Fire your ass.
Yeah, fire him.
Because I was usually the boss, right?
Yeah, he's the boss, you know. But, I mean, I'm not going to let him just continually nail me without giving him a receipt, you know.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and...
Lance Russell told you the story about me and Lawler, right?
Yeah, that's a true story. I was telling him earlier when Lance was on here. They were up in Louisville, and... Jerry Lawler and Bill wrestled, and Lance goes into Lawler's dressing room, and Lawler's got a black eye, and, you know, he's busted up in the face. And he said, man, Dundee really gave it to you tonight, didn't he? And Lawler's reply was, well, you ought to go over in his dressing room and see what he looks like. So Lance moseys over. Sure enough, Billy's eyes half closed. He's bleeding from the mouth. Lance says, dang, he really gave it to you, didn't he? Lawler must have been mad. Billy's reply was, yeah, well, you ought to go over and see what he looks like.
Well, sometimes that just happens.
Well, y'all, really and truly, let's be honest, okay? You didn't like each other outside the ring.
I wouldn't really say we dislike one another as far as that. We just never hung around together. But
you wouldn't go to his house on Thanksgiving and eat dinner, and he wouldn't come to yours, to be honest.
We just never invited one another. But, I mean, if we'd been invited, we would have went. I have done things with Lawler, and it's just we're two different people. He never drank. He never did drugs. He never... What else can I say? He never did back in the day when everybody was stupid. He had his own vices, and good luck to him. But, yeah, so... Yeah, we had nothing in common away from the ring. But we respected one another, what he could do and I could do in the ring. And then sometimes we would nail one another a little hard, and that's how that ended up with Lance being there.
But
so there was only
good
two punches, the one he hit me with and the one I hit him back. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was a fight.
Right. Because like we were talking about earlier, when you're hit with a really stiff punch that's not a working punch, you can't sell it. You can't. I mean, you're so stunned and your head's spinning. You know, you're like that rock'em sock'em robot whose head bounces up. You know, you can't sell that punch. The only thing you can possibly do is either clear your head or immediately throw that receipt back. You know, but that made for good money back then, right?
And Bob too. I guess he's been around this business. Did you ever think we'd be sitting here exposing the business?
No.
And we wonder why we don't draw no money.
Absolutely not.
I mean, even Vince, and I understand that he, did it for different reasons in showbiz, and he wanted to own everybody. I understand that part. But guys like you and me just sitting here talking, if we'd done this 15 years ago, well, no, even
unheard of.
20 years ago, you would have had to fight somebody.
Right.
But today we sit here and we wonder why we'll go down the road and there'll be 100 people. Because there's 2,000 or 10,000 listening to this, or 20,000. And once the magician gives the trick away, it's no trick.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
And we wonder why we've killed this business. I wouldn't have done this 5 years ago.
I wouldn't have either.
Do you think that stuff like this or conversations like this has led to today's product being such a spot fest that instead of being able to tell stories and, do a working fight, they've got to do off the top rope, triple flip, hurricanranas, and, that's just for opening moves?
See, somebody has to teach you this business. And it's like driving a race car. We can all drive a car, but we can't drive a race car. But some people get in them and people teach them how to drive a race car. You have to be taught whatever you do. And nobody's teaching them. Somebody charges somebody $50 to be a wrestler. And he can't do it anyway. So what does he teach it? Nothing.
Very true.
See, Garvin went to the real school of wrestling.
And that is true. That is true. But you got to admit, Billy, you would come in on Sundays, okay? And you pretty much handpicked who you thought could draw money, and you would spend extra time with those people. And you gave everybody their money's worth. I'm not going to say that. Whatever. You gave everybody their money's worth. But yours actually was a school. You had wrestlers like Mike Davis and Tommy Lane, and just everybody that was in the territory would come in and work with us. Yeah. And then they would all report back to you, this guy's got some talent.
And that's how it works, but that doesn't happen today.
Right.
I don't know what Vince does, but I mean.
Well, we're actually, what you said was a really good point, because this is how we've talked to each other for 30 years almost. And we would have never said and let as many people that are hearing this podcast right now, we'd cut each other's arms off.
Well, there's no kayfabe no more. There's no nothing. There's no, because it's, and then you say, well, everybody else is doing it. Yeah, well, they are. And I understand all that. But it's still real to me, by God.
what goes in, okay, as far as putting on a wrestling match, okay? What goes into actually telling a story, Bill? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Making it look real and making it be real. Are you thinking it's real? If you don't think it's real, you can't convince the guy about a ticket that it's real. So if you go in there and just lollygag around, well, we just watched Stevie Ray and the other kid. What was his name?
Stephen Dane.
Stephen Dane. That was a hell of a match. And the one before that, we never knew who the finish was because they did so many false finishes. But I mean, I didn't know.
No, I didn't have a clue.
So it was, but today you can.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, and the formula is gone. There used to be a formula in this business, and we've lost the formula 25 years ago. Wasn't all Vince's fault. Podcasts like this, damn smartphones, this computer, and all the other electrical bullshit that you have has helped kill this business. And guys like you and me are in it, sitting here talking about it. What can you do? It is what it is.
Yeah, we're dinosaurs, but Billy's a working dinosaur.
I've already made all my money and got most of it left, so I don't care. Anyway, what the hell?
Bill lives on a golf course, and I've sat and wondered today as we were talking. He said he could sit out on the back porch and watch people play golf and not have to cut his backyard. You know, he had 100 acres of landscape. Beautiful.
Nice golf holes and all them other things, but yeah.
But as long as I've known Billy D, I've known one thing about him is he buries money in tin cans.
No, that
puts
was
in his backyard.
That was my son's. That was my son's story. And well.
If you look at the look on his face.
When I leave my will, I'll leave the map. Right?
Terry buries ex-wives. Bill buries coins in the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, down in the basement of the dungeon at the Sims compound.
Yeah.
I've got ex-wives buried, and then believe me, there's quite a few. Just like the gentleman sitting next to me.
I have about 3 running around too, but that's another story.
Well, that's not as many as some.
No.
I mean, not even close.
I smartened up after the third one. I thought, well, no more.
Can you imagine if we had all the money that the exes did get? Oh,
well, I was pretty good as far as that. I cheated them out of most of it. Who gets the best wins, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. But Billy, getting back, okay, we were talking about Australia and talking about you kind of getting started. You were working for Jimmy Barnett, and the booker was Bobby Shane, correct?
Well, he came over after the booker was Mark Lewin for the first 15 years.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was, and that was a smart dude right there.
Did he stay booker for 15 years in Australia?
Yeah. He would go home sometimes for 3 months, and Carl Cox or somebody like that would take over. But Barnett never booked it himself. Barnett always hired a good booker, and like Ted Turner, he said, I like to watch it. Don't know nothing about it, but I like to watch it. So I hire guys like Dusty Rhodes to come run it. That's what he said. So
that's an interesting story. I didn't realize that he had maintained that position for that long.
Lewin?
Yeah.
Well, whatever years he was there, it might not have been 15, but he came at the beginning and he was there till he sold out. And then he sold it to a guy named Tony Coloni. I thought it was a gangster that was coming. Tony Coloni is going to be the new owner. And it was. So he came in and he brought Bobby Shane. And
Tell me what your thoughts on Bobby Shane were as a wrestler and as a booker.
Oh, I thought he was a hell of a worker. And he was a half-assed tough kid. He was, and he learned in St. Louis with Wild Bill Longston and that crew. So he knew what he was doing. And as a booker, he was it was easy then because you would, if you you're telling the people it's real, you can do real stuff and it looks real. Today, they're doing all kinds of silly shit. So, yeah, he was very good. He saw me in Barnes and called up Jerry Jarrett and said, I got 2 kids here. We'd probably draw you some money in Tennessee. He said, well, I'll get Nick to start working on the paperwork now. So that's how it all came about.
It almost took a year to get that paperwork, though, right?
That's why I get mad Mexicans walking over the border and all the other things, because it takes long to do it the right way. And I did it the right way. So.
Yeah, but you always paid taxes, and now, big difference there. But you're right. I see your point.
And I'm not getting into politics, but you know what I mean.
I see your point. No, I totally see your point. I can't imagine waiting for a year thinking you're going to come over here and and be exposed to a whole new audience that hasn't seen you and get over and make money, you know.
Well, you never quite do that. I told you the story. Bobby Shane took the book back in Florida.
Yeah, listen to this. This is a great story.
Barnes and I was coming here just to get into the States and get a little bit of American type wrestling, inward blood type thing or under our belt. And Bobby Shane was going to take us to Florida because he took the book back for Eddie Graham. And they were in that plane wreck with Mike McCord and Gary Hart. What the hell was the kid piloting the plane?
There was one other.
Yeah, there was.
That I can't remember. I know Austin Idol, Mike McCord.
Mike McCord.
Yeah.
Shane, Gary Hart. And the guy piloting was a wrestler. And they overshot the runway. Then when they took the plane up, it stalled and they went backwards into the water.
Mm-hmm.
Shane, I think, was the only one that was killed. So that kind of
Buddy Cole.
Buddy Cole, that's him.
it.
But he has another name because when he was in Australia, he didn't wrestle as Buddy Cole. He wrestled as Ron Reed. Ron Reed, I think. That may be his real name. But in Florida, he was Buddy Cole. In Australia, he was a babyface, Ron Reed. So anyway, he was flying the plane, and that's what happened. So and I think George, he really wanted to go to Florida with Eddie Graham and all that, and he kind of went home after that, after Shane got killed. Nick Goulas and Jerry Jarrett were partners. That's like I said, we got here. Bobby Shane called Jerry Jarrett, and Jerry said, well, I'll get Nick work on it. And Nick did. Nick got all the paperwork and did all the things he did. And we got the visas and all the things to come here. Then after I got here, Tinny Jarrett, that was Jerry's mother, was also working for Nick, and she was the one that got me my green card. So I got to thank Nick Goulas in that because it was his office that gave me the job and brought me here, and here we are. And then they all got mad at one another. Well, no, they were mad at one another before I got here. But anyway, there was two sides to every story, I guess. But the version I got was that Jerry bought into the company and Nick never transferred the stock, and Jerry left.
Jerry Jarrett.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did their split, and Jerry Jarrett went his way, and he'd been smoking hot as a booker in Memphis for years. So he basically was a rival now against Nick. But you and George had just come in, okay?
Right.
You're thinking that you're going to be here maybe 6 months, a year at the very most, then you're going to go to Florida.
Right.
Okay. A little thing happened about that time, Billy, that was kind of life-changing for you, and that's the fact that Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler had a falling out. And Jarrett fired Lawler, right?
Yeah.
So you're here, and there's no Jerry Lawler.
Right. The big dog's gone, so they're looking for another dog.
Right. And that new dog happened to be the man sitting next to me. You took the ball and ran with it. You and George, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it took a while for them. George left, so would it all worked out the same way if he'd stayed? Who the hell knows? But it worked out for me. But here's the other thing that I really believe in. If you have talent at whatever you do and somebody gives you a chance to use it, it'll come out somewhere. So I think it's just, I'm very good at what I do. So just ask me and I'll tell you. But no, because I learned off Mark Loon and King Curtis and Big Bad John and a lot of guys that Archie the Goldie the Stomper. I watched all them heels come to Australia, and Jim Barnett is the promoter. So I kind of knew what it was about, the office part, because I hung around with Loon. He liked me, and somebody has to like you. I mean, I liked you, and when you do, you try to get you into the bed, you try to do something or whatever. So if nobody likes you, you ain't going nowhere.
Right. So, and unfortunately, that's the way it was in the 60s. That's the way it was in the 70s, and it's still that way today.
And the way in life, not just
life. That's right. That's right.
So it doesn't matter what business you're in. If somebody don't like you, you ain't going nowhere.
Okay, well, Lawler's been exiled, basically, because of a disagreement with Jarrett, right?
This is a story that Jarrett told me. He said, they put the belt on Lawler, and he went and said, look, I don't have to go to the little towns. And apparently that pissed Jarrett off. He said, well, don't go to the big ones. And he took the belt off and told him to go to Florida. So he had gone. By the time we got here, there's now a vacuum. There's now a space. And we filled it.
Right. My question to you is this, Billy. You all did. You got smoking hot as heels.
In 3 weeks.
3 weeks, right. Which is unheard of. Right. I mean, you can take a guy and you can push him hard, but when you had established heels that were still in and around the territory, like Tojo Yamamoto and some of the others, to bring in this team from Australia, get them smoking hot. And then, okay, you got that big push for quite a while as a heel. They bring Lawler back.
Well,
okay.
That's the thing that makes it work, because they all know what Lawler is already over now. Lawler will come back, run their two Aussies out of town.
Right.
That was a built-in angle before you didn't have to do nothing.
I mean, it was laid in front of you.
Right. It was right there.
Was there any jealousy on the part of Lawler, do you think?
Well, I'm sure Lawler's jealous of me, but that's no. We, like I said, we respect it. How can you can't knock Jerry Lawler? He's a hell of a talent. I mean, he's an artist. He's very good at the wrestling business. He's very good talker. You can't knock the man on things he does. He's a very talented man.
Absolutely.
And me,
one of the most talented.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, and me, I was just cute. The girls liked me. And if the girls are coming, the little boys are coming to the matches, and that's all that matters. So, I was green as grass when I got here. We'd been around 12 years, but working on top's a little different than doing jobs for Gary Hart or Mark Lewin or King Curtis or Skull Murphy, Brute Bernard. It's a whole different kettle of fish. So you have to learn. But Jerry Jarrett liked this, and he made sure we learned.
What a great bunch of talent you just named. Man,
unbelievable.
Great heels. King Curtis, man.
Unbelievable.
His forehead was more chopped up than Abdul the Butcher, Robert Fuller, and all of them combined. Yeah. Oh, looked like he just took sandpaper. And, brutal. Okay. Now, something I found interesting. I don't know if you told me this or someone else, but you all came in as heels, but Teeny Jarrett was really the first one. Kind of looked at you and said, man, this guy's too cute to be a heel. He needs to be a baby face, right?
Right. Because the baby faces the head here was Jarrett, Eddie Martin, Tojo, Tommy Gilbert. Well, none of them as cute as me.
No.
What can you say, right? Yeah. So anyway, I looked like a little 12-year-old kid when I got here. I was 32 years old, 1975. So
that's an interesting story. Yeah. How long was it before you turned babyface, Billy?
Well, George left, and then they teamed me up with Chris Coates, Luke Graham. Crazy Luke. It was about 3-4 other heels that they put me together with them. Jarrett says, I think we need to do what Teeny said. I said, no, man, I don't want to be a friggin' babyface. He said, yeah, we'll give it a go. I said, like a lot of money on pictures. So
that lit your bell.
There you go. So they switched me, and here we are, 40 years later.
And y'all were making good money back then. I mean, you were really making, for the 70s, you were drawing a lot of money. But that picture money.
No, we never made no money on pictures.
That's right. That's right.
K-Face.
K-Face. Yeah.
Jimmy Cornette wrote a book and put all that shit in the book. I don't understand him.
Boy ain't right.
No, he ain't right.
He's not your typical Louisville. We had Kenny Bolin on here last week, and Kenny Bolin shot on Jimmy Cornette like he was a 12-year-old kid.
Now you're going to get me fucking hot now with Kenny Bolin shooting on anybody. I mean, Cornette drew more money standing in the shower than Kenny Bolin ever drew anywhere. So where did he ever draw it? What can I say about James E. Cornette now?
Were you the one that wanted to turn him into a manager? Was that your thought?
No.
It wasn't. It was Jerry Jarrett's? And the reason being, I told this story before, but I remember you telling me that Jerry Jarrett, his philosophy was if JC could make the people as mad and upset them as much as he made him,
right? Maybe somebody
they'd want to kill him.
Maybe somebody'd kill him. And that's how Jarrett said it to me. This is a true story. Because Jimmy took pictures, and he was an obnoxious son of a bitch, and his mama was Teeny Jarrett's best friend, and they hung around the Louisville Gardens, and Jimmy thought he owned the Louisville Gardens, and he would come and take pictures of the boys, and then he would, you'd get them from him every second. If he took them this Tuesday, you picked them up the next Tuesday. So that's how he got around the wrestling business, and he was obnoxious. He knew everything, just like he is today. You know how he is, and Jarrett says to me, I hate that son of a bitch. I said, who? He said, that Cornette kid. He said, do you think we could make him a heel manager and maybe the fans will kill him if he gets us over with them as much heat as he does with me? I said, no. Anyway, we had to talk to his mother to get him into the business.
He's about 16 or 17
Right,
at the
he
time.
had a driver's license, so he was driving a car, whatever age that is. So then we got him in and did the thing, and Watts came up here looking for a booker. I got the job, and I couldn't get Jimmy Hart, so we took James E. Cornette, took him down to Louisville, and then to Louisiana, put him with the Midnight Express, and the rest is history, as they say.
I've always wondered what it takes or what you go through when you're putting together a card. You got 10 guys on, you're working tonight. What do you go through in the process of saying, I'm going to put this on first, this on next, this on there? I mean, you know who your main's going to be, your semi-main, but how did you go through that process of arranging how the card is stacked?
Well, yeah, a little bit of that, but you know what your main event is, and you're following your TV. So whatever you did on television, you bring it to the show live, and that's why it wouldn't work today, because you was a week behind up here. We made it on a Saturday morning, then the next week it came up here on a Tuesday. So you were already a week behind. So you knew if it worked in Memphis, it's going to work everywhere else. And that's what it was. So if you had the main event, Lawler and Dundee, then Tommy Rich and Eddie Marlin against Tojo and somebody, you knew that was your semi-final. So down to the third match on the card, you usually had them in angles. The rest, you just kept the boys working.
So it's not as complicated as I thought it was.
Well, no, you're following your TV. You have to have your TV laid out. Everything has to be off the television. And that was why Jerry Jarrett got mad at Lawler when Lawler was the champion and doing everything on TV and didn't want to go to the towns.
Yeah, because that was what was drawn with
Yeah,
the TV. You know, people wanting to see the faces they're seeing on television.
There you go.
Right, right.
You know, and Lawler didn't want to do it, so he got a vacation for a little while. Best thing ever happened to Bill Dundee and George Barnes, because he was gone and we came here and
filled the void.
And that's right. And
basically filled the void.
Rammed us down the people's neck, and here we are 40 years later.
It's unbelievable. It's been 40 years. And it really has. I mean, this year's 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I started in 61, 62 wrestling.
Something I'm going to ask you, okay, is I've worked for you as a booker, and I've worked for Jerry Lawler as a booker, okay? And it's totally different now. I mean, it's totally different. When you were booking, we had a smaller crew.
Yes.
You know, we would maybe carry 15 at the most.
It was usually in the wintertime. He took the summer.
Right. And when Lawler was booking, I mean, they'd have 40 people practically, you know.
It's easier to put the TV together.
Right.
A lot more buddies to do things with.
Right. Exactly.
Not a lot of thought goes into it.
But when you were booking, Bill, you tried to finish what was going to be shot on Saturday in Memphis to draw money the rest of that week. You would try and be finished with your booking by, say, Wednesday. Is that correct?
Well, yeah,
Wednesday or Thursday. I can remember Lawler sitting there filling in names at the TV, you know.
See, here is the difference, and that was the fault that he had. Could he have booked it the other way? Yes. But Lawler kept Lawler red hot, just like Dusty kept Dusty red hot, and they thought, and most of the time, they were drawing the money. So he would put a few things around him and make it, you know, I want everybody to, well, if it sold out, we sold out. If it sucked, it wasn't just me, it sucked. Everybody sucked. We're all on the card. Yeah, just different ways of looking at it. And I have changed it. And Jerry Jarrett, same way. We have drove down to Memphis, wrote TV on the last Monday or on the way home, and changed it on the way in. Thank you. So that is always changing. Lawler, you the same thing. What we doing, King? Hell, I don't know. I ain't wrote it yet.
That's true. I've seen that.
Yeah, me too.
I've seen that.
When you would put together a program for somebody, how far out had you planned something like that? Is it like a month down the road, 6 weeks, 2 months? Is it a week and see how it draws and screw it if it doesn't? And how did that work?
that has a lot to do with it, the amount of people it's drawing. But I can remember, like with Beauty and the Beast, we were planning 6 months worth of angle, really.
Well, yeah, you start, if you're going to have a blow-off match, you book the blow-off match first, then you work backwards. You got to figure out how to get there. So if you're building for the cage, everything you do for a month or 5 weeks or 6 weeks, you're working backwards, so you know what you're doing to get to the first match, to get you to the cage at the end of 6 weeks or whatever it is. So that's the way I did it. So
that's very interesting.
Well, you have to know where you're going.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you know you're ending up in a cage, you have to know what to do to get there, or what the people will buy a ticket to see you getting there, or you hope. So, so it's just, so once you know your last match, your first one's pretty easy. Just do wild bullshit and off you go. It's like the two-block concession stand. People will say, well, how did you do? Well, that was an accident.
Tell us about it. How was it an accident? Well, I mean, seriously, you had the cameras there. You were rolling.
We had all that. And we knew they were getting over there, which they had done before. They were jumping over there. But Eddie Marlin was the promoter of Tupelo, and it was his show and his concession stand and everything else that went in there. And a guy named Herman Sheffield run the concession with his wife and Eddie and all that. So they was their concession stand. So we got back to the back before, and the heels would jump over there. We got back there, and he wasn't there. And there they are, Farris and Latham, over into the damn concession stand they go. So Jerry Lawler jumps over. So Bill Dundee jumps over. So Lawler wasn't too fond of his cousin, Wayne Farris. So he's standing there. So Lawler just picked up a big jar of pickles and went, wow! Didn't care if it hit him or not. Fortunately, he ducked. And bam, the pickles go all over the place. Glass breaks, and it's on. Now it's on. Whereas, you said, and now they're rolling around. Me and Larry Latham are rolling around, fighting and carrying on. And Lance says, you can hear him on the top, said, damn, they got a hell of a fight going on. Bring the camera. So they bring the camera, and they start to light it up, and they start filming. So Jerry Jarrett comes in, and the best part, because they ripped all Jarrett's clothes off. After the match, they put his shirt off, put his pants down, they tear him, and then he's standing in these drawers. So
That's something you never see.
They never showed that on the TV, but it was wild. So Eddie Marlin gets us all out. He's a kind of half hot because the candy bars all broke and stuff broke, pickles, jars of pickles and potato chips all over the place. But it drew money, so it doesn't. But that was just one of them things that happened. And we've tried to redo it, and it never works. Knowing what you're doing.
I got a funny story for you. You'll enjoy this. I don't think I've ever told it to you, but when we were doing the global stuff, and at the very end of it, I was wrestling Killer Tim Brooks, and we wanted something different. It was a dark match. It wasn't a house show match, but no, I think they still had syndication. And we could do things on the syndication that we couldn't do on ESPN. I was explaining that to you earlier. Guy pulls a chain out, they show a crowd shot. Well, I said, hey, man, has anybody ever fought in the concession stand here before? Killer Tim Brooks says, no, not that I know of. Well, I knew the guy that had it, Jack. Remember Jack's Fries down there at the Sportatorium? He liked me. And I went to him and I told him what we wanted to do. And he said, yeah, great. Okay, we'll do it. He said, just don't tear up this, this, and this.
Yeah, see?
So, yeah, well.
That's how it becomes a work then.
Well, of course, we didn't listen to it. And he wasn't happy with us, but it got over. The angle got over. Well, I left, and Killer Brooks decides he's going to do it again. Okay? And I'm not there. Now, you got to remember, I went to Jack, and I told him what we were going to do. So he put up the glass jars to where we couldn't bust mustard, big glass jars of mustard on each other. And Tim Brooks, I can't remember who he was wrestling, but I wasn't there that night. He goes into the concession stand, and Jack's in there, and Jack's trying to pull Tim Brooks off the guy and get him out of the concession stand. It wasn't even the last match, I don't think. And Tim actually took one of those fryers and threw it on Jack, Bernie. I mean, burn him bad. They went to court over
I'm
it.
sure they did.
Oh, man, it was a lawsuit and everything else. When they told me about it, I was like, holy hell, I went to Jack. I explained to him what I was doing and asked him if it was all right. And, of course, he let us do it. But that's just the boys being the boys,
Well, I don't know.
Goofy. Biggest difference between wrestling today and wrestling in our era, Billy. What is it?
The boys can't do it. The boys ain't smart. They ain't. I mean, I'll tell most of them in the ring in the last 20 years, from 20 years back this way, they have no clue. They have no friggin' clue. They don't even wear tights.
True. Very true.
So, I mean, it's just like no clue, man. Some little skinny kid taught some other little skinny kid what he thought wrestling was, and now you got two skinny kids. Or some big old boy teaches another big old boy what he thinks it is. Now you have two big old boys. And that's what the business is today.
Good point.
There used to be a formula. And I'm going to tell all you young guys out there listening to this, get a Gene Anderson, Ole Anderson tape of the Minnesota Wrecking Crew and watch the son of a bitch, and you may learn how to be heels in this business.
I'll tell you a story. When I was growing up, I grew up in the Northern Virginia area, and we got Mid-Atlantic on cable. And I was legitimately, just a fan mark, but I was legitimately scared of Gene and Ole Anderson. I didn't want to go to the cards when they were on because I thought if for some reason it got out in the crowd, they would kill somebody and not care. Yeah. Not care at all. Be fine with them.
Right. See, here's another thing about Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler can convince you, talking, that he's the baddest man on the planet. He can convince you in the ring that he's the baddest man on the planet. Not saying he is, not saying he ain't. But when you listen to him talk, you think, that Lawler will kill Dundee tonight. And that's why we sold out. And I go, well, no, he won't. No, but you know what I mean.
It took two, though.
Yeah.
You could return it.
I understand that. But he can talk you into the building. Just talk. And most of the kids today can't do it. They haven't got a clue. They don't call it a promo today. They call it a mic spiel. Hey, let's do a mic spiel. The fuck is a mic spiel?
Good point. Very good point.
Promo, sir.
They don't tell stories, though. They don't work on a body part. They don't. There's no.
Because nobody
clue.
Showed them. It's monkey see, monkey do. They watch Vince, and most of Vince's boys are making a lot more money than the kids watching them will ever make. And they try to do what they do, but they're not going to Vince. So it's monkey see, monkey do. We just watched that tape there, and I thought 3 of the matches that we just watched were very good.
Right.
Including you, Garvin.
Well, thank you, Billy. Thank you.
And you're right. It takes 2, and it takes the referee. So you can't do this by yourself, and nobody can ever get over by themselves. If you get into a territory and the office doesn't decide to push you, you ain't going nowhere.
No matter how good you are.
No matter how good you are.
True. Very true. I think that Jerry Jarrett pushing Jeff as hard as he pushed Jeff on the people was a big downfall, especially in the Texas end. They're used to seeing the Von Erichs.
Right.
These guys were big built, really killing each other and killing other guys. And Jeff, he was a nice kid. Don't get me wrong. I like Jeffrey. But he just wasn't ready for the push that he received that quick, I don't think.
And what are you going to do?
Right. It's his son.
Nick did it with George. Well, the Von Erichs did it too. That little bitty
Very
Von Erich,
true.
you had to put him over if you worked with him.
Very true.
So it just happened that Kerry was a big old boy and Kevin, and then the one that died, what was the one you mentioned? David. They all look like they could kill you. So that's what I'm saying. Lawler can convince the people. Jeff couldn't talk.
Not at all.
He couldn't say doo-doo with a mouthful of it. He just couldn't talk. And still ain't too good today.
He stumbled through his interviews.
Well, you know why?
Scared.
No.
What?
Because his father wrote it out for him. And Jeff was trying to remember.
Are you kidding? I did not know that.
There's a lot of things you do.
I did not know that.
So he did it for Jerry Lawler and me too when we started. But instead of trying to get the points, put them in your words, Jeff tried to remember the whole damn thing.
Right.
It's hard.
Right. Exactly.
That's why so many of the promos that they do on the WWE shows come across as stiff or as poorly acted. It doesn't seem like most of the guys feel it. John Cena talks and you can say, this guy feels what he's saying. Dolph Ziggler talks, and I love Dolph Ziggler in the ring. Dolph Ziggler talks and it's like, hi, I'm remembering my lines from the script, and yes, I will do this and I will do that. And it doesn't feel like the emotion's there. He doesn't believe what he's saying.
See, when Jerry Lawler puts the crown on, he really believes he's the king. You know, and that's true. It comes across. I mean, Jeff, I don't know what Jeff ever believed. I don't believe Jeff ever thought he was tough.
Good point.
And he never really could portray that in an interview or whatever. He stuttered and he stammered and he did all whatever. But, you know, we're not just knocking Jeff. Well, maybe we are, but that's another story. So anyway, and it's hard to be the boss's son in the wrestling business with the same last name and not say, well, that's his father.
Just ask Eric Watts.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Good point. Or George Goulas.
I was George Goulas and Nick, the two fucking idiots. But anyway, I was there with the Watts thing. That was a whole different kettle of fish with poor Eric. I mean, anyway.
Well, Greg Gagne with Vern. I mean, Greg is a nice guy. He could actually work,
and
he was no Vern Gagne.
No, well, Vern was kind of like Watts. They were kind of bullies. They knew they could beat you, so they just did whatever they wanted to do with you.
They were hookers and shooters.
Well, most of the marks did today don't know what that is. But anyway, yeah. So they just did whatever they wanted to do with you. And Greg wasn't like that. I mean, I saw one of the best wrestling matches we had an apartment in, when we all worked for Crockett, Greg Gagne, Mike Graham, and Bill Dundee. We lived upstairs in the penthouse suite in Marietta, Georgia. So
them walls could talk.
We were all sitting drinking. So Gagne, one of them, said, I won't you fucking ass. You won't mind because I'll shoot you. You know, I got on the table. And what with me? With a drinking. So Mike Graham said, I don't think you're that tough, Gagne. I don't think you're that tough. So they got all the furniture pushed back in the
I can see this one.
And I went, wow, this is going to be good. So I'm sitting there drinking my little beer, watching them. What a wrestling match. No punches, no nothing but wrestling. And I thought, well, both of them pretty tough boys. I'm glad I got this 45 sitting right here in case they attack me. But anyway.
So you actually sitting there watching them shoot on each other.
Yeah, I had S&W sitting right there in case they came my way.
Do you remember who got the better of that? Did Greg get him? He's a little bigger.
They were pretty even, Steven. I mean, they were just wrestling.
Yeah. No working punches, no
nothing like
stiff punches, no nothing. They're just wrestling like high school or college wrestling.
Behind, taking them down. Yeah.
Wow.
And it went for about 15 minutes.
Well, I bet they were blown up afterwards.
Sky high.
Yeah.
Then they just came back down, sat at the table and drinking beer. And I said, well, okay. That's what you shooters do? All right.
Let me ask you this, Billy. You've wrestled a lot of great talent. You know, you've wrestled a lot of the European guys.
Yeah.
Billy Robinson and Tony Charles.
Nick Botwinkle.
Who was the best actual wrestler? I'm not talking about cutting promos or...
You mean shooter?
No, I mean actually working wrestling.
Well, if you just want on real good scientific matches, I think Tony Charles and Billy Robinson was good. They were both. I mean, any of the English ones could do it. So I like working with Tony better because he was small. Billy was a big old boy.
Yeah, he was really big.
Big hand, big everything, and could wrestle. So could Tony. So to me, Tony, because we were about the same size, and I thought my matches was better with him. So
your matches with Tony Charles were great, and they were babyface matches, which you don't see.
Right.
You know, even today, you don't see babyface versus babyface.
And on the
no punches thrown, you know.
And on the indie circuit, as they call it today, the indie circuit was the outlaw circuit when we were.
Right.
Everybody else was around. But anyway, nobody can do it. There's not two guys on it can do it.
Right.
if they tried it, the crowd would start going, boring, boring, because the crowds have been educated to look for high spot after high spot.
That is a kind of true. If you do it right, they'll get unboring. You know what I mean? If you're wrestling and you're making it telling the story, they will get with it. They just don't give it long enough to. They don't. Well, they can't do it, so they don't try to do it.
Well, I remember Johnny Valentine telling me one time, he would grab a headlock and lay there for 5 minutes. If the fans screamed boring, 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 he'd lay there longer.
Yeah.
Because he was educating the fans.
Right.
And, they were going to buy what he was doing.
What he was selling, yeah.
Bill, let's take the questions off the beaten path for a little bit. Let's say, for example, or for hypothetical sake, you're stuck on a desert island. You've got a iPad with a solar charger so you can have it working forever. It's filled with all the music that you want to listen to. So what music is on that iPad?
Oh, that's real easy. I would just tune into the Sirius Radio, Willie's station, and I wouldn't have to move. Be country music.
There you go. All right. So you've also got the Kindle app on that iPad. You can read whatever book you want to read. Your own book is obviously on there because that's a worthy read. But besides that, what books are on there?
Oh, my God. I guess Treasure Island, because I did that when I was a kid. And I read Black Beauty. That was about the horse that people don't know what it was. Yeah, Black Beauty. And who else would it do? Oh, I read Evel Knievel's book. I liked that. So the guy that wrote it, whatever it was, when he hit the guy with the baseball bat and all that kind of stuff. So that would be about it. John Wayne's autobiography, that would have to be there. The Duke.
Awesome. So you've got room for one movie. It's the only movie you're ever going to be able to watch again. Which movie are you watching?
Oh, well, hell, Shane. I like Shane. Come back, Shane. Alan Ladd.
All right. So you've been rescued from the desert island, and now you're going to have dinner with any 4 people from history. Who's at the dinner table, and what are you serving?
Well, I would have Sir William Wallace, Robert the Bruce, and we would serve some kind of venison that we stole from the Queen of England's forest down there in Sherwood Forest, and maybe Robin Hood and Little John.
All right. There you go.
Okay. Let's play a little name game with Bill.
Okay, name games.
All right. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask you about a certain person. Give me one word or one sentence to describe that person. Okay. Jerry Jarrett.
Brilliant.
Lance Russell.
Also brilliant at what he does. Very good announcer.
Gordon,
the best announcer.
The best announcer.
Yeah.
Gordon Soley.
Second best announcer.
Okay. Second best. Can you imagine them two working on shows together, which they did do?
Yeah.
I mean, golly.
Here is the difference between Lance and Gordon. Gordon knew all the right words to say, and he knew what an arm drag was, and he knew what a go behind takedown was, and he knew you take away the head, the feet will follow. He said all them things during the commentary. Lance made words up. You know how he was. He would have drag across the ring, but it sounded exciting. And he was. And when I first came here and started talking on Memphis television, it was hard for me to get an interview out of me. I stuttered and stammered, and Lance could pull it out of you, and he can do that today. And he was very good at that. So I have a lot to thank Mr. Lance Russell for, because he persevered with me on the interview thing, and he was very good at dragging it out of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then I got to be brilliant, so thank you, Lance.
Took you about 3 weeks,
yeah,
but you got to be brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about announcers, what about JR?
He wears a fucking big black hat.
You spent some time with him in Louisiana, right?
Another story. He will probably say, Bill who?
Yeah. Oh, I doubt that very much. Did y'all have heat? Welcome to Dead Air Radio, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me put it to you this way. There was a few of them down there, and JR was one of them. He was there before I got there, now I had the cornet, but they all think they did it on their own down there. And it was actually me. I was the puppeteer. And there was a guy named Richard Bowden. It was the complete drizzling, you know what. And he was terrible on interviews. And I told Bill Watts, this is not working, Bill. This guy here takes up all the time on the interviews. We have 3 minutes, and he talks for 2.5 of it about him and his family, and then he'll talk 50 seconds to the boys. He go. Jim Ross. Here he comes. Then they put him at the desk with Joel Watts. And very good. We fired Richard from the thing. He worked for the TV, and Bill said, we may lose the TV. I said, well, we're going to lose it anyway. This guy's terrible. So anyway, that was one of the things, and JR came along, and he would come to the meetings. And Joel Watts and Jim Ross and Bill Dundee would have a meeting before Big Bill Watts would show up. And then we would all go in there with our 5 cents worth of whatever we thought we were going to do for the show and present it to Bill Watts. And that's how it all started. And then in there, like Cornette really thinks he just showed up and he was this great manager. Hey, Cornette, you know who made you great? You're looking at it. But anyway, so I think Jim Ross and my son got a lot of heat when they were WWE and the ref or whatever it was. And I can understand getting mad at Jamie. But anyway, Jamie's already been to the mountain, so that's another story. But
he
anyway,
pissed the Pope off.
Yeah. So that's, how that was. So I haven't seen Jim Ross since I've been with Watts, so I really don't know how the end of it is.
Do you think any of the heat between Jamie and him had to do with Billy, or was it a pure Jamie?
That was all Jamie. I mean, I was, you know how Jamie is.
Oh yeah. Like I said, he could piss the Pope off.
Right.
Before we move on, I've got to tell you the story just real quick. We had Black Bart on here, and I was doing the same thing, and I said, Jim Ross, you know what he said? He said he would sell all the dope in the territory and then run back to Bill Watts and stooge it off.
Well, yeah, I'm
not going to deny it. Or
well, I was going to. No, I'm not telling that story. It's just not nice. But anyway, yeah, he may have done. I don't know.
Okay, all right. Bill Watts,
big, belligerent cowboy, kind of bullyish. No, not kind of bullish. He is a bully, but I got along good with him. So I made a lot of money with him. Made him a whole lot more for 2 years. And he'll be the first to tell you that Bill Dundee had the best 2 years in Louisiana than anybody ever. And that's a true story.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I liked him.
Okay. Stan Kern and Steve Lane, the fabulous ones.
Two pretty good wrestlers that never really got over by themselves, and we put them together with Jackie Fargo, and we had Fargo do the talking, give them gold coats and top hats and call them the fabulous ones, and the rest is history. In Tennessee. They never got over nowhere else.
No, they tried to go to the AWA and fight the Road Warriors, and that just didn't go, did it?
Well, right, because they were doing their own thinking. When they were here, we did the thinking. Jarrett, Lawler, Dundee, and Fargo. So then when they got out on their own, they got them little skimpy tights, and they took off the tights, and they took off the gold coats, and they did all the shit. They went to being sexy. And I don't think anybody thought they were sexy, but I don't know. But it never worked. You're right.
Okay. Jackie Fargo.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Valley. That's it. So, yeah, the first guy I ever saw do the strut was in Australia in 1960, I don't know, 8 maybe, or it might have been 70, but it was around somewhere like that. And it was Don Carson. And it was because I'd never seen the strut done right. So I thought, well, okay.
Don Carson, who managed the Stomper?
Yeah, that's Don Carson.
Yeah, okay.
He wrestled for Barnett in Australia. Him and Don Green came over as just a tag team, and he would do a version of it. So we came here, George Barnes and I, in 1975, and Fargo came to the ring one night and knocked us on our ass and did the thing, boom, boom. And we're both laying there selling, and he struts across the ring, and Barnes sits up at me and says, "Now we'll see it done right. That's where Don Carson got that." I went, "What the hell are you talking about?" It's Fargo. Boom, boom, boom. Now we knew the difference. Often implicated,
Never duplicated. Yeah, everybody tried to strut, but nobody could do the Fargo strut.
That's absolutely right. Mr. Coffee said one time, we were a question and answer thing on the book thing, Lancer, they wrote, Lawler, all this. So somebody asked him about the strut. And he says, "Oh, Jackie Fargo, Lawler did the strut. Dundee tried it, but he ain't too good." Coffee? What the hell? So anyway, he didn't think I was too good at it, but that's another story.
Guy Coffee.
But you're absolutely
best hairpiece
right.
in
But I
business.
was right. I was at a show 2 weeks ago, and Charlotte Fargo was there, Jackie's daughter. So she got me up in the ring, and me and her did the strut. People went nuts.
I bet. I absolutely bet. Here's a good one for you. Your son-in-law, Bobby Eaton.
Oh, beautiful Bob. Well, as a worker, there was nobody better.
Agree.
As an interviewer, he sucked. But as bumps and gentle in the ring, nobody better. And as a person, nobody better. So I go along good with him, and here we are.
Right. I totally agree. Bobby was the epitome of needing a manager to talk for him, though. I mean, he's probably one of the greatest bump takers and even thinkers in the ring. The guy could have a match with anybody. He was a very, very talented and likable fellow. So, yeah. What did you think? I'm going to ask this, and then we'll move on. What did you think about when you learned that Donna and he were seeing each other? Because I know you didn't want your daughter to date or marry a wrestler, right?
Well, seeing it was him, because he wasn't. And, and then the reason they got going, I had in my office, in my house, I had my office. Nobody was supposed to answer the telephone in my office. But it rang, and Donna answered it, and it was Bobby. That's how it all started. So anyway, that's how they met on the phone, and they talked on the phone for about the first 6 months and snuck around. Then she told me their boyfriend was coming over tonight. And I went, okay, it was a Sunday or whatever day we was off. And Bobby Eaton showed up at the door. And I thought, wow, okay. So they were going together. So I thought, well, if I say, no, we can't do this and don't do this and da-da, you know how it is. It's going to happen anyway. So
right. They're going to do it regardless. Gotcha. But all in all, he was a good son-in-law. Good provider, good fellow. Yeah. All right. Throw a little swerve on you here. Mongolian Stomper.
Archie Goldie. I loved Archie. He used to come to my house, and me and him would go running in the mornings and all kinds of stuff. And Archie was a nice guy. He had a wig. I mean, an expensive wig that he would wear when he went out with his wife.
Really?
His kids. Oh yeah, you wouldn't know it was the stump. So he comes over and he says to my first wife, Beverly, the mother of my children's, right, Beverly, is there any way we can wash this darn thing? So she says, yeah, we'll wash it. Well, you've been a hairdresser. You know what happens to wigs when you wash them.
Yeah, sure do.
They washed it, and they put it on the little head thing that women put the wigs on or whatever, and let it dry. Oh, my God. It was like an electric shock. So the Stomper puts it on. Well, there'd be a little doobie going here. So anyway, he gets the giggles, and he's, what funny. That was the last time we saw the wig. So I don't think he ever got it fixed or did anything with it, but it turned out, woo, mercy.
The wig for the Stomper. Oh, my God.
I promise you, when you had it on, if you had a suit and a tie on, you would never think it was the Stomper.
That's a great story.
Let me tell you another funny story.
Okay.
I wasn't there, but he told it to me, and I'm sure it happened. Do y'all know who Eric the Red was? He was in Florida.
Sure.
He had the Swedish gimmick with the long blonde hair and the beard and all the gimmicks. Archie had the top knot. He had the thing in the back and the pigtail. We're going to a restaurant. So Archie says, we're sitting in a restaurant. And Eric looks over at me. He said, why are them people looking at us? And Archie said, have you ever looked in the mirror? The one sitting there with long blonde hair and a big beard like the Swedish fucking pirates, and Archie with its Mongol. And he says, wow, he's wondering why they're staring at us. Yeah, the good old days. You wore your gimmick. And when Barnett came to Australia, he had Waldo von Erich. He made him wear a Nazi uniform. Waldo was German.
Right.
He had the jack boots and the pants that they wear and the uniform and the hat. I mean, they lived the gimmick when it was just. And we had the Stomper over there, same thing. He got homesick one time. He was trying to sneak out. He was trying to leave. He was going to go home and not tell nobody. From Australia to America. So he was trying to sneak on the plane. And Lou or somebody was coming in on another flight and saw him at the airport. And he's thinking, wonder why they're going to think I'm at the airport here. So there's a 300-pound monster with a goofy haircut looking around all the posts, looking at Lou, and where's Lou? Not know whoever, trying to sneak on an airplane to go home. He was leaving without notice. He got homesick, he said. But I love Archie. He was a funny guy.
Oh, he was funny. And I'll tell you something. When I was in Continental, Archie came in and worked for us some, and he was probably close to 50 at that time.
Yeah.
And he was riding his bike, he told me, like 120 miles every week.
He rode it to Canada one time.
Rode it to Canada?
Yeah, from Hendersonville to Canada, yeah.
No, is that a shoot?
Non-stop, but yeah, he rested but yeah, he rode it to Canada.
How long did it take him?
I don't know, about a week. I don't know, but not long, but for a bike. I mean, I said, Arch, did you read that thing home? He said, yeah, told you I was going to do it, and he did it.
That's an incredible story. That is. Okay, Bobby Shane.
Bobby Shane. Well, if it wasn't for Bobby Shane, I wouldn't be sitting here, so. Barnett brought him to Australia when he sold it to a guy named Tony Coloni. So Lewin and all his crew came home. Bobby Shane came over, brought his crew. And he liked Barnes and me and said, you all need to be in Tennessee. You'd get over good. I'll call Jerry Jarrett now. So he called Jerry Jarrett. They talked. Jarrett told him, so I'll get Nick Goulas to work on their papers. So that was the beginning of 74. At the end of 74, the visa and the work visa came through, and here we are.
Sold the company to Tony Coloni. Is that a work? Is that a real name?
That was the name that they said. This is Tony Coloni. What does that sound like? Friggin' gangster.
It sounds like mafia to me.
Al Capone's right behind him, right? Yeah. But no, Tony was a good guy. Lived in Hawaii.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So he wasn't even from New York, where you're thinking, well, okay, he's a gangster. But I don't know what he was, but he had a lot of money. He bought the thing off Barnett. He bought Australia.
And I guarantee it wasn't cheap.
No, I'm sure.
Because Jimsy was there for a long time.
Oh, a long time. And it was making money. It was a kind of up and down in the end, but yeah. Huh. So Bobby Shane, he was a very good booker, and he came out then, and we were supposed to go work for him in Florida, but the plane crashed, and that was the end of that.
What about as far as his in-ring work?
Oh, good. Very good. Wrestle, yeah. But, I mean, the wrestle.
Right. Okay. Well, a name that our Texas fans are going to like to hear, Dewey Robinson, the Missing Link.
Missing Link.
Right.
Yeah. And
did you work with him then? Were you around him as he played the Link?
Yeah, when we was in
Dallas, I didn't know that.
We brought him in, used to hold his head, but in Australia, he was Dewey Robertson.
Great worker.
Yeah, babyface, good-looking kid. And then that's when they come in, and because he come up and spoke to me, he's a Missing Link. He said, you remember me? I was in Australia. I'm like, motherfucker, you was never in Australia. I remembered you. He said, no, Dewey Robinson. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, so that was my first glimpse of Mr. Missing Link. It was Dewey Robinson when I knew him.
Okay, what about Eddie Gilbert?
I never really was around Eddie. He was a good worker. I worked with him a couple of times, but we never really ended up at the same place at the same time. So he had to be a good worker. His father was great.
He was great. Tommy is great.
And I really believe Tommy was the best of the three.
Tommy was
In my
outstanding.
opinion, yes, he
Yeah,
was.
He was outstanding. Bruiser Brody.
Oh, we did 3 tag matches with him, me, and Lawler.
He light you up.
Big, strong dude. When he was on his knees, he was taller than me. So, you know what I mean? I went, my God, I kicked Frank in the knee and he dropped onto one, and I went, wow, he's still taller than me. God almighty. Anyway, but it was good. I like working with him. I mean, you kind of had to go to him before, or I did. I don't know if you did, and kind of talk to him, because he could throw you around like a ping pong ball if he wanted to. But we did good.
And if he didn't like you, he would throw you around like a ping pong ball, right?
I'm assuming that you kind of like me, because I went and spoke to him and talked to him and said, Frank, I know you can, but, you know, we're trying to draw money here. He said, no, it'll be all right, kid. Oh, he called me kid. I said, oh, that's good. Be good, kid. I'll go one knee. He went one knee, and I'm still looking at him. He's still taller. But anyway.
That's a great story.
We had fun.
Fabulous Freebirds.
The Fabulous Freebirds. The 2 or the 3?
Both. Do both.
Well, we brought them into Memphis. Terry Gordy and
Michael
Hayes. And we covered Michael up with a sheet, and we took him out on TV to tell the people how pretty he was. And we stood him there, and Gordy talked for 20 minutes. Seemed like a week, but, you know, he talked for a while. Then we took the sheet off, and Michael strutted around, and they got over. But Michael really couldn't work back then, and he was stiff. So we kind of, he went down to Bill Watts' territory. Then they got Buddy Roberts, and they came back with the 3 of them. And it was a lot easier to work when Michael was the manager. But we drew money. I liked the 3 of them. I got along good with them.
Of all 3 of them, who was the best worker in the ring?
You'd have to go with Gordy. But Roberts could work too. I mean, you know, Michael was just different. He was more into the showbiz and wanted to be a rock star. So it was different gimmicks. But I think Gordy, you may say.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But Buddy could work too.
Okay. Yeah, Buddy could work. You know, and I was very, very happy that they put him with Beauty and the Beast when we went to Texas. We got to manage us for about 3 months. We had a ball. And he taught me a lot about the wrestling business. Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin.
Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin.
Looks like that other guy, only not as good looking.
Yeah. They teamed me and him up when I was at WCW. And I used to say, Jimmy, you're not going to play that friggin' music now, do you? Because he changed. When it started, he got the fucking gun. Do I have to do that too? He said, no. And he would shake his head and go all the way to the ring. And I thought, wow, I'm glad when we get to the ring, this music will shut off. It was loud, and he was dancing and carrying on. But we had a lot of fun together. And I knew him in Australia. That's how you got your gimmick, the pink mat. He had to haul around for the real Terry Garvin. Terrence Garvin, as they used to call him. And they came to Australia. Bobby Shane brought them to Australia. Poor Jimmy, he was just a kid. He had to have this big thing and lug it through the airports, put it on the plane, take it to the deal. So that's how the pink mat deal come up. But the pink mat actually came up because Jerry Jarrett gave it to Terry Garvin when he booked for Jim Barnett in Atlanta, Georgia in 1974, maybe. So that's how all the Garvins got together.
Okay, Moolah.
I never really was around. Barnett brought to Australia. It was Moolah and Penny Banner or somebody. It was a hell of a woman's match he brought in. We took it all around Australia. I'd be the opening match for somebody and do a job on TV. I thought I'm a wrestler. So anyway, we did that for 12 years. But anyway, so Moolah, I thought she was a tough old broad, and they said she was. I'd never go in the ring with her, but Eddie Marlin said she could punch like a man. Okay, then.
There's a good name for you, Eddie Marlin.
Eddie Marlin?
Yes.
Bugs Bunny.
What'd you call him?
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny, okay.
He had two big teeth in the front.
Yes, he did.
And that's why he called him. That was his handle on the CB, Bugs Bunny. So, yeah. How about you, Bugs Bunny? Yeah, go ahead, Superstar. Don't call me a go-ahead. What the hell? Yeah. Anyway, here we go. So, yeah, Eddie Marlin, very nice to me. I still talk to him. Go see him sometimes. He's 80-something years old now, young or whatever you want to say. And he's he was a good guy then, a good guy now. He is Jerry Jarrett's father-in-law.
Right.
If people out there
Right.
don't know.
First father-in-law, wasn't
Yeah, so still is. So
he? Yeah, yeah. You know, Eddie was a good worker.
yeah, he's a good
He
worker.
was. He was a
Country
good
boy.
worker.
See, he had a real job for a long time too, and then when Jarrett broke away and Jarrett did the thing, so then he got into the wrestling business. So he had a real job during the day, and he wrestled at night for Nick. Well, you had to, you wouldn't eat.
Right.
You had to have a real job to pay for your wrestling habit. So Nick was a real promoter.
For Nick.
For Nick. How much can I steal off the bones? But anyway, he's not here, so I'm not saying no more about him.
Okay.
He'll be jumping up at us. You won't have to worry about him coming down at you. He'll be jumping up.
He'll be jumping up, reaching in our pockets.
I got you.
Or sleep, yeah.
Nick Lewis.
Okay.
Wrestling promoter personified.
You think?
I think. He stole all the money.
Okay. What about Mr. Welch, his partner?
I never really knew. I mean, he had, what is it when you forget where you're going? And
Parkinson's.
Something like that. And he would leave in his car and call the office and say, hey, where am I? Where am I going? He'd be leave for Louisville and end up somewhere else. Dementia, whatever you call it. So Alzheimer's or whatever, yeah. So he had a little of that going through him, I guess. And I come into Nashville one time, he had a walking cane. Jimmy Kent was there. And he hit Jimmy Kent on the back with that stick. Did you never know Jimmy Kent? He managed the bounty hunters.
No,
He had a little cowboy gimmick.
I didn't know him. I remember him, but I didn't know him.
Okay, so he whacked him with that stick. Whoo, mercy. Kent jumped and hollered. He said, well, you'll sell that, won't you, boy? I said, oh, my God. Now, here's another one. Did you remember Pat Malone, the Green Shadow?
No, I did not remember him.
Okay, you haven't asked about my most favorite person in the world, and I thought you would really ask this question.
Well, I was saving it for last because we all know it's me.
Okay, but anyway. Oh, you
I
want to
don't
keep this
put
for
myself
last?
over to the end, you know.
Save this one for last.
Yeah, let's save this for last.
It's hard to top this one, but anyway.
Okay, let's save that one for last.
Okay.
Buddy Landau.
Oh, I love Buddy. I babysat him for 10 years. If it could be done, Buddy did it. And you'll never get me to knock Buddy Landau. Was one of the better workers in this business. Was his own worst enemy.
And he'd tell you.
And he was just, I don't think he knew how to handle success, or I really don't know how you describe it. Dusty was building when we went over to Crockett's. I managed Buddy, and he was building Nature Boy versus Nature Boy, and he was building this thing up. And for one of the Starcades, Woody drew like the best. Buddy gets the great idea to borrow about $4,000 off Crockett and leave. There's where main event gone. Buddy's left with the money, and little Willie's all by himself. So then we got to regroup. So you see what I'm saying? He just did crazy stuff, and God rest his soul. I mean, but there was only one of them. But I mean,
only one Budrow.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I loved him to death. Watch the hair, brother. The last time I worked with him, he had to be 300 pounds. Black hair. I get in the ring. Never saw him till I got in the ring. We're in a different dressing room, so I get there. So I get in the ring. I know I'm working with Buddy. This 300-pound monster comes lumbering to the ring with black hair. Look at that. Buddy, that you? So anyway, he gets in the ring, so I punch him, bam, bam, bam. I said, are you ever going to fall down? He said, Bill, if I fall down, I can't get up. I swear. I said, well, just knock me down. So anyway, one of us got to take a bump or two. So I thought, you being younger, I thought it would be you, but now I know why. So anyway, we had a pretty fair match considering, and that was really the last time I saw him or worked against him.
What year was that?
Oh, about 5 years ago.
Okay. Here's a good one for you, Gypsy Joe.
another guy that I got along great with, and now the Gypsy Joe that you probably remember or being around when you got in the business wasn't the Gypsy Joe that showed up every night in 1975. So take it from 75 back that way, that way.
Right.
Different guy altogether. The cat that after about, say, 80, whole different kettle of fish. He was a tough sucker way back, had a hell of a body, hit you, woo, mercy. Could wrestle, could shoot a little bit, do all kind of hell of a work. So then as he got older, I guess, like the rest of he quit doing less and less. And
he was one of those guys that when you hit him, he liked for you to chop him as hard as you could actually chop him, and I think he liked it.
I never liked that chop, and it's not a chop, it is a slap.
Slap.
And that's exactly what it is. And when people do it to me, I say, why are you slapping me? Chop you in the fucking throat. It's going to be a whole lot different than what you just did to me. So nobody chops me no more. And if you do, just turn your shoulder and they hit your thing, it's kind of, it hurts their hand. But anyway, yeah, Gypsy could slap the dog out of you and it would hurt. But I got along great with him. I thought he was a hell of a guy and a hell of a worker.
Yeah.
And in Japan, he was one of the big stars back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Man, he was over like Rover in Japan.
Well, they did a thing, 5 or 6, 8 years ago where they did the thing, took him over there and they honored him and they did all the things that,
the memorial show, yeah.
They did all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Now,
I liked him.
I worked against him in a program in Texas, and he was El Grande Pistolero. He was like 50 years old then. And just tough as nails, man.
Had that damn gun he would fire off, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pistolero. That's another Jarrett extravaganza.
Yeah, there's abortion. Here's a name for you we talked about earlier. As a kid, I watched him, and I loved him as in-ring performer, but Bearcat Brown.
Yeah, Bearcat. Nick Gullis with Bearcat Brown and Rossi together. It was the first black and white team in Tennessee. Got over like the son of a gun. He didn't think the people would buy it, but they bought it. The two of them got over good. Lamb did the selling, and Bearcat did the comebacks, and they drew a lot of money together. I got along good with Bearcat. And Lamb, too. They were two nice guys to meet.
Nobody nicer than Len Rossi, I don't know.
No, Lamb's an
excellent fellow.
When I tell my story, Len's son, Joey, will be in the end of this story, too, because he's in part of what I'm going to tell you all at the end of the thing here. So, anyway.
Okay, well, it's a good time to hear this story. Let's hear it. Who is your favorite person in the world, Billy, besides me?
You know the person I like to talk about the most.
Who's you?
Is Randy, Macho Man, Savage. Yeah, the most paranoid motherfucker in the wrestling business or in the world. Do I have to say more? Well, I'm going to say more. Because we were in a show with Naz. What? You don't go off. You sit here with me.
Keep going. I'm going to hear you.
So anyway, he worked with Joey Rossi. And he didn't think Joey sold too much. So he come back to the dressing room in Nashville and he was, Rossi, I'll kill you, bear. So Joey had already smoked a cigarette or lit one up. And he's puffing on it. And he's going, if you can. So Randy said, if I can? Well, yeah. He said, that's what I said, if you can. So he puffs on the cigarette a little more. Randy just left. No fight.
Well, so much for not talking about people that have passed on.
Well,
right?
that's not people.
Wow, that's shooting now. I thought we were going to have a hard time topping the last time where when he had that heart attack, he turned to his wife and said, that little sumbitch is still alive, and here I'm having a heart attack and going to die. Bam, hit the tree.
That's right.
I almost fell out of my chair then. That's why I had to get up and walk away because I started laughing so hard I pissed myself.
So, it's just, there's things you do and things that you don't do.
So the heat that was between you and Randy was actually genuine.
Yeah, but I don't know why.
Because you wore a pair of tights that said Superstar on.
No, it said Macho Man.
Macho Man.
Somebody gave me the tights.
Yeah.
And I wore them. So obviously he saw him because this was the days when you had phones in your house. It rang and I answered it. Hello? Oh, this Macho Man. I said, Randy Savage? He said, yeah. He said, oh, yeah, or whatever he fucking grunt said. He said, Lawler's the king. You're the superstar. And I'm the Macho Man. You have tights. And I said, oh, here we go. Shit. I said, it's all a work except Lawler. He really is the king. But anyway, so that I have no idea if that was the start of it, but he never cared for me and I never cared for him. I met him in Bowling Green one time when him and his dad and his brother was running around booking Bowling Green and Lexington and all the town. And we were already running it. So I'm walking across the parking lot. It's a cold kind of night, and I'm coming out of the store. Randy's coming. He left his car at the gas pumps, and he walked into the store, and it's cold. So he's wrapped his coat around him, and he's walking over. So I'm walking back from the gas pump and pay for the gas. And I saw him. I said, hey, Randy Savage, how are you? And he looked at me and he went, Bill Dundee, you really don't give a fuck. Fuck you. And he just kept walking. And I went, well, I really was trying to be nice. And he just got in his car and drove off. So maybe because I was better looking than him and a better worker. So you know.
And you could wrestle a bear?
Yeah, wrestle a bear, yeah. But anyway, I really don't know how it started. I think just they came in. Oh, now here's my other funny story. They get word to Christine Jarrett, who run Lexington, Kentucky, that they were all coming to the matches, buying tickets, and they were going to jump in, Randy was, on Bill Dundee's match. Okay. The referee was Luthez. The opponent was Billy Robertson and little old me. And Pat Malone, this is why I asked you if you knew the Green Shadow. He's an old tough shooter. He wrestled as the Green Shadow and he's tough son of a bitch. So he's the timekeeper. And he has a 38 in each pocket. So I'm thinking, I hope they don't come. Not that anything's going to happen to me. I just don't want none of them to get hurt. Except maybe Randy. But they never come. Randy was so friggin' drunk. When we passed him going down the aisle, they were all sitting in a bunch. I mean, his whole crew, they're over there. His dad, his brother, him. And they bought tickets. And they're sitting like marks, So anyway, I'm thinking.
They were
for that night.
They upped your pay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking, well, come on. There's Robertson, there's Luthez, and Pat Malone with 2 pistols. Oh, this is not going to be nice. So anyway, they never came. So when the match is over and we're walking back, Randy's there. He's got a big thing. I already passed him. He goes, ah. So anyway. You can tell there's no love lost, but he started it, not me. So anyway.
Can you imagine him jumping in the ring, even in the late 70s, okay, with Luthez and Billy Robbins?
Right.
I mean,
oh, well, yeah.
That's 2 shooters right there. Extraordinary.
Right. And Pat Malone was a real hooker. He was another hooker. So he could have done it wrestling-wise, too, but he had pistol in each pocket. I went, oh, this won't be good if they come.
And little Willie's got a pistol in his bag back in the dressing room.
That's another story. So, oh, man.
Back then, we all carry pistols. Well, I mean, it'd be like a shootout at the freaking OK Corral.
How many of the boys actually carried them? I never saw nobody wave them around but me. But anyway, that was another story. But I always had one. Before that, there was another group came in here and was going to take it over. And they brought in the Samoans, and they brought in was the guy that played the trombone, and Danny Davis, not the wrestler Danny Davis. He backed it, Nashville, and they brought a whole bunch of badasses in supposed to take over territory, but they never did. And they found Tommy Rich one time, and he punched him in the nose. One poor bastard. He was only 18. He just started. So a lot of people carried pistols back then because it was. Sure, it was dangerous.
Absolutely. Handsome Jimmy Valiant.
Oh, the Boogie Woogie man.
Boogie Woogie.
When he came down here from Dick the Bruiser, he really couldn't work a lick, but he could talk. So by the time he'd been here about 5 years with Lawler and me and Austin Idol and Dutch Mantell and all them other guys, Handsome learned to do a little bit. So him and Johnny, when they came in the first time, they never set the woods on fire, but Handsome came back and he go over as a single. And here we are, but I love Handsome.
I think everybody loves Handsome.
How could you get mad at him?
You couldn't. He's such a likable guy.
He's just a likable guy, and he doesn't have no viciousness in him.
No. He has no viciousness whatsoever. He's one of the quietest talking sweetheart of a guy.
Nothing like
when the light goes on, it's totally different. Yeah. Dutch Mantell.
Dirty Dutch.
Did you buy a copy of his book?
He gave me a copy, and I read it. Then I saw him a little time after. I said, Dutch, your book, man, I read it. He said, what's the name of my book? I said, Wrestling According to Dutch. He said, well, write your book any friggin' way you want. That's how I wrote mine. I said, okay, I got you. But, there's a lot of them like that. They add shit that ain't quite true. That's why my book's only this thick.
Because it was true.
Because it's basically all true.
Yeah, he didn't embellish. If it would have been, my God, there's no telling how big it would have been.
I don't know what that word means. Did you embellish your book, Dundee? Hell, I know, sold a couple. I have no idea that I embellished.
No.
Yeah, I got you.
What about Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Oh, what can you say about Stone Cold Steve Austin except what you see is what you get, a big beer swilling redneck. But he's a lovable redneck.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's a good answer on Steve. I mean, that really is a good answer. Mark Calloway, The Undertaker.
Another one that never cared for me. I don't know. I thought I liked him, and I thought he kind of liked me till he had me thrown out of a damn WWF show one time.
You're kidding.
No, it was in Nashville. I went in the back talking to the boys, and Tony Garea, the New Zealand kid, he worked for them. So he comes to me and he said, Bill, I hate to do this to you. He said, but one of the stars is telling Vince that you need to leave. He said, and you know who it is. I said, yeah, I do. I'll just go. There's no sense doing this. So off I went.
That's an unbelievable story because, Mark doesn't seem like he's...
Unbelievable story. Well, let me give you the last time I saw Mark in the dressing room in Louisville.
Okay.
Sit up. I will do what you want in the ring, but get out of my private life. Can't poke it. I went, get out of your private. He said, you know what I mean. Then it was 10 years later that I think Dutch Mantell smartened me up. Apparently, one of his wives had known me before he knew, and I think that was the heat. Apparently, she had come to the matches in Louisville, and she walked by me, and I patted her on the ass, pissed Mark off. But anyway, that's the story I got. Don't know if that's a true story or whatever it was, but anyway, here we are. And as long as they keep making S and W's, I fear no one. But I will tell you another funny story.
Okay.
And I like Mark. I never did nothing to Mark, but I mean, he wants to be mad at me. After we told me to get out of the building, I had to leave, or Tony Garea did, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of pissed off at him. So I'm going somewhere, and the fucking elevator opens. Louisville, somewhere, one of them reunion things. And I'll be damned. It's the Undertaker walks onto the elevator. And there's nobody at the elevator but him and me. So he turns around and he leans against the wall. And he says, damn, how are you, Bill? I said, well, all right. I said, well, he's talking pretty civil today. He said, fuck. He said, my shoulder's hurting. He said, there's something wrong with his back. He said he had a bung knee. and he's leaning back against the wall. And I thought, if I hit this motherfucker, maybe I could knock him out. And then I thought, but what if I can't? So we get to the floor, and the door opens. Nice meeting you, Mark. And off I went. So we'll never know. True story.
You sitting thinking to yourself,
Yeah.
what if I hit this motherfucker? I think I can knock him out.
What of a cake?
But then you just you decided better of it, huh?
What of a cake?
So,
and it just pisses him off.
Good judgment. Yeah, you already had heat with him, you know.
Right. So that was about the last time I've seen him.
Oh, that was a great story.
I have a few.
Any more you can share on here before we wrap this thing up?
On all them guys that stayed on the gas forever, they hurt after they get off.
Oh, yeah.
They say, because I was never on it, and I was telling that story when the Road Warriors was in town. Hawk, way at the back of the room, they were talking about steroids, and somebody to me, I said, well, I ain't done no gas. And this big voice says, yeah, Dundee, you can look at you and tell. Oh, okay then.
One of the Road Warriors?
Yeah, it was Mike.
Hey, did you ever work with Ole?
Ole?
Uh-huh. When he was booking, did you ever work for him?
And for him. They brought me down to Atlanta to book the Underneath Atlanta when he was going on tour.
I forgot about that.
He took the A-team and he left me in Atlanta and all around Atlanta. We made TV in Chattanooga. So he calls me up, or he had Joni call me up, the secretary, and she says, Bill, can you send the Fantastics to the Amity on Friday night? And I said, yes, I can. So I go to Terry Taylor and to Bobby Fulton, and I tell them, I'm sending you to the Amity on Friday night, and you're going to work against the Road Warriors. And I will tell you this, do not do no job. Taylor went, Bobby Fulton smoked a cigarette and said, okay, is that what you want? I said, that's what I want. To go to the Omni, and the mask comes, and Ole gets him in the room, and he tells him, hey, Ole can't do that. Bill Dundee said we can't put the Road Warriors over. I
bet he came unglued.
So I'm back at the hotel room and the phone rings, and I knew it was about the time of the main event, going to the semifinal, going to the ring, and that was them. So I thought, I'm not answering this phone. Ring, ring, ring.
You didn't want to be cussed, did you?
Hello, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson, you mother. I just laid it down. It was going boom. Still there, Ole? So after you kind of calm down, he says, did you tell Taylor and Fulton they weren't doing a job at the Amity? I said, yes, I did. He said, well, and then he just kind of changed. He must have got to thinking about it. It was wrong because he knew what I did it for. He said, well, I just wondered if you said it or they just took it upon themselves to do it.
You're kidding.
Then he hung the phone up.
He backpedaled.
Kind of, but not really.
He got to thinking about it. He was just mad. That was over, right?
Because he told him to finish, and then when we saw him at the office, I told him, how can I go around all the little towns here and try to draw them? We're getting slaughtered at Domino on Friday nights. I can't do it. That's my top babyface team. He said, I know. And Mike and Joe didn't care.
Great story.
Jamie and Wolfie refused to put him over.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to hear this story.
Oh,
Jamie and Wolfie refused to put the Road Warriors
Well, let me
up.
take that back from Wolfie. I don't want no heat on him. It's not really Jamie did the talk. They were leaving. And he said, we're not doing it. And Mike, did you know Hawk very well?
No, I knew him, but I didn't know him very well.
He's all different. When Mike went out on TV and went, what a rush. That wasn't the word. It was a rush. But anyway, so he eggs Jamie on. Anyway, I got the tape at home. And I taped it off Channel 17. They ended up doing it, but Jamie didn't think they should do it. So he said, well, we're just not putting them over. Fucking Joe looked at him, you little mother. Mike said, calm down, Joe, calm down. So anyway, they eventually did it, but funny business this sometimes. Jamie Dundee.
Why would Jamie refuse to do a job for the Road Warriors? Just out of his mind?
No, he was mad at Jim Ross. And that's when they were all working over there. And
well, that'd be, that was a good decision on his part.
Yeah,
The wrestling
yeah.
business,
He
wasn't it?
He has screwed up for Vince, for Turner, for whoever. I mean, I don't know what goes through his mind.
It's what we call a career-limiting decision.
Yes. And just, I don't know. I don't know how he thinks.
No, I don't either. I mean, I've often told the story, but somehow or another, he ended up getting in the car with me, and it was just he and I driving to Louisville. It was when I was up there and Mark wasn't there. And Jamie's running that mouth 120 miles an hour, Bill. God,
I know.
We got to about Bowling Green from Nashville, and I told him, I said, you say one more word, I swear to God, I'll stop this car and beat the shit out of you. Jamie looks at me really serious. I said, I'm serious. I can't take any more. So I think underneath his breath, he may have said word. But we went about 10 miles down the road, and he says, can I say something now?
Yeah,
because he knew I was high.
Well, I just don't understand what he says or what he doesn't say or how he even thinks.
We wasn't even taking a breath. I mean, I don't know how he was breathing while he was talking.
Well, I guess he was doing stuff that you didn't have to breathe doing, right?
Either that or he's breathing through his eyelids.
Yeah.
Like a fish or something.
But hell, he'd been to the mountain. Why would you be at Vince's, work for Vince and then get fired? For stupidity.
It's not the last name that did it.
No. Well, who knows? But then anyway, no, because Mark liked him.
No, I know. I'm saying it wasn't your fault. You taught him right.
I guess
just wasn't any teaching there. I mean, the guy he walks to the beat of his own drum.
Right.
Jamie Dundee is his own man, and nobody's going to tell Jamie anything. We both know that.
You know what his problem is?
What?
The same one, Brian Christopher. They're jealous of their dad.
You think? Really?
Do I think? Yeah, just a little bit.
I can see that. I mean, you're trying to be your father. You're trying to be in his career, but that's a big shadow to overcast.
Right.
It is,
that, Lawler both been around 25 years when they started, so we have 25 years ahead of them.
Right.
And they wanted to do the silliness. When Vince fired Jamie, he went to Shawn Michaels. And they all knew what he got fired for, being stupid. And he said, well, Shawn, you do it. He says, Jamie, I've been with this man for 15 years. I got 3 houses and money in the bank, Frank. And I don't need the job, technically. You know what I'm saying? So is he trying to be Michaels? I mean, Shawn gets fucked up and does whatever, and the little boy that's doing jobs does the same thing. What do you think is going to happen? But anyway, I don't know how he sees or how he thinks or what he does or he don't does. But he's my boy and I love him, so what can you say?
That's right. That's right. Okay, man. Any last words to our listeners?
Yeah. All you young guys that's in this business, buy fucking tights or quit and don't give up your day jobs because I've seen a lot of you.
And wrestling boots. Don't wrestle in tennis shoes unless you're John Cena.
Just because John Cena does it, now nobody wants to buy tights or wear boots. That's just the craziest thing it ever was.
Monkey see, monkey do, and it's not really their fault. It's John Cena to them is the man, and he wears what he wears. But they'll never be John Cena, and they'll never be working for Vince McMahon, and they'll better not give up their day jobs or they'll starve to death. So that's what we're saying. Yeah, buy Bill Dundee's book or buy a DVD of Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler, and you may learn how to do this damn business.
That's true. That's true. And, I'm going to tell you something, Billy. This is my perception of this, okay? Is when I started wrestling, there was no YouTube. There wasn't.
Right.
You couldn't go and pull up matches from the 60s, 50s, 70s, 80s. If I was just starting today and I had this tool that I could use to blend styles and wrestling interviews and everything else, it'd have been a different ball game.
Right.
Seriously. But these kids today, like you said, all they see is what they're seeing on TV right now.
That's what they think wrestling is.
And you figure it, the best and the people that get over the best, they're stealing from someone else or 3 or 4 someone else's. They just happen to, like, say, for instance, The Rock. He grew up in the wrestling business.
Right.
And he saw all these people. Well, he copied his style after different people. Randy Savage did the same thing. He got that talking from someone else when he was a kid,
Three Stooges. Not The Rock. The other guy you said. Yeah. No, I agree with you, but here is the other thing. That may be a theory, but it ain't mine. I am me, Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler. And that's who we are. He puts the crown on. He believes he's the king. I put the suit on. I thought I was Elvis, second coming superstar, Bill Dundee to the thing. And I don't know if I had the suit before Elvis, or maybe I did. That doesn't really matter. But anyway, I look better in mine. He did this, but no. And so,
Elvis had the suit.
Right, I do too. But I had the black hair.
He had that first.
No, sorry, Bob. I've had this since I saw my mother dye her hair jet black or blue black back in the early 50s. And I said, Mom, what are you doing? She said, I'm having blue black hair. I said, can I have blue black hair? She said, yeah, sit down there. And that was the first time I ever had blue black hair.
And did you keep it ever since then?
Yeah.
And you still have a lot of hair up there.
And blue black.
And blue black.
Yes, sir.
And you'd say that's not real?
Yeah, not real, yeah. It would be pure white, folks. I'd be like Charlie Rich.
Well, last time you were here, somebody asked you, said, have you ever thought about not dyeing your hair? You said, hell no.
Hell no.
Why would I?
See, here's my other thing. I know we all grew older, and I know we may lose our hair, we may do this, or we may do that. But Bill Dundee with snow white hair will not be Bill Dundee. The people are not expecting to see, you know what I mean?
I understand.
It's bad enough getting older. And I kind of look like I did when I was younger. Most of the guys don't.
You do.
So, but I work awful hard at it. Try to eat right.
Botox.
No Botox. No. The
ass tuck.
Yeah, I hear you. But I've thought about it. But then I thought, why? I'm going to die anyway, and I would just blow 20 grand, so I'm not doing it.
You'd have to dig up cans. Hell, that's 20 grand. You'd have that golf course would have holes all over it.
Golf course would be all dug up.
I think gophers invaded.
I'm telling you.
Be like Bill Murray at Caddyshack.
Yeah.
Blow that damn golf course to pieces. What happened? Billy Dundee's out here digging up $20,000.
Get his face done.
Well, Bill, it's certainly a pleasure as always, my friend, and I think we're going to call this a night. What do you think?
Okay, then. At 76 years old, Bill Dundee is still going as strong as ever. Just last year, he won another championship. He is actively involved in promoting indie cards across Tennessee and Mississippi. He also has a podcast named If You Don't Want the Answer, Don't Ask the Question. You can follow Bill on Facebook, facebook.com/bill.dundee.33, or on Twitter @BillDundee. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe, please like this video, and more importantly, please share the word. Get the word out to your friends, your family, your enemies. We don't care. Just get the word out. For Wrestling World Domination Remastered, I'm Bob Hazelwood. Please be good to each other.